my international heroes, better go grab your maps, cause it's time for some card art battling raps. Two of the best podcasts joined together on wax to figure out the best art here at long last. So what's not to love as we pick at the surface of the club's large array of art in the subscription service. From reused vintage, ever so gently lifted, to a Rich's original that is oh so perfect. The last 16 seem to have an awesome chance to beat off the competition and move on to advance. Will it be Bombstrike's beauty or Outback's duty, or can Jinx blindly find a way to the top of the class? So without all the boasts, let's check out your hosts, with Cooge on the west side repping his coast. Steve leads the team while Rob gets the scoops, and Paul does the zame up yo whenever he spokes. And by all means, this isn't the last dance as Steve, Rob and Paul drop them Afrikaans. Cooge is in the cut, man, keeping it deep with me, repping a place closer to the coast of France. So just drop what you're doing, pick up what's brewing, join us in the battle of knowing and viewing. You know what this is, expert commentary, son. It's the FSS Card Art Battle Part 1.
This is episode 123 of G.I. Joburg. We are presenting our figure subscription service Ultimate Card Art Battle. But we're not doing it alone. Tonight we are joined by the Brit with the big mouth and the big hair. It's Chris McLeod of the Full Force Podcast.
Thank you.
Hello, Chris.
Hello. Thank you for that. Hang on, big mouth. Wait, what? Yeah, fair enough.
It's figurative, of course, because you're a fellow podcast host, right?
I thought it meant because we were intimate that time at JoeCon.
Shh. No one's meant to know, Christopher.
Oh, well, they've seen the pictures. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's very, very, very fitting since you had us on your 4+ hour epic.
Yeah, my bad.
That was your sort of... No, dude, it was great. It saved us from having to do too much con coverage because we want to get into other stuff. But we're joined by the full panel of G.I. Joburg as well. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves.
I'm Paul, still finding file cards in my backpack from JoeCon Lobsha. Hello.
I'm Robert. I'm still recovering from the America-induced sickness.
You're welcome from Cujo on the West Coast, ready to appreciate art.
Whew. How have we all been?
Boobies.
I've been so amazing. Good lord, I've been a bit.
Yeah, you sound like you've been amazing. I'm like the Walking Dead, dude. Like, I think I can be on a Thriller video, because that's about the level of zombie I am. I'm undead, but I can still dance.
Are you the guy whose arm falls off randomly about a third of the way through?
No, I'm that guy.
Tonight's podcast is coming at you from 4 time zones. We are truly international, gentlemen, as if we weren't already.
Full force.
I should say that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in case you're scratching your heads, Cujo's on the West Coast. Interestingly enough, Chris is in Central Time, USA.
Hi there.
Turncoat. The boys are coming at you from South Africa, which would put them Central African time, and I don't know what time we're at, but I know that it's damn early in the morning.
You're in the future or in the past, I can't remember, but...
It's
The future.
It's down under time.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, it's early. Or is it late? I don't know, my body can barely decide. You know, coming from the States, spending 4 nights in South Africa, and then catching a flight to Oz. Yeah, I'm messed up, man. I don't know what time it is. The sun's not up yet. But hey, we're here to
Sun never sets on card art, though.
Very true. Unless you need the lighting in a certain position.
Well, you know Outback is always going to find the sun.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, shadowing.
Is that a spoiler? Are you basically pushing out back to the final there, Cooge?
Speaking of the future...
Amazing.
Well, what are we actually looking at tonight, guys? Steven, are we looking at all of FSS, or are we kind of just breaking this down?
Holy leading question, Batman. We have decided to focus on the first 4 figure subscription service sets. Reason being, Christopher?
Hi. Oh, it's because if we did all of them at once, we're kind of like not really doing all of them justice. We get to talk about more this way. Plus, obviously, we've got a figure subscription service 8 that hasn't actually fully arrived yet. Figure subscription service 7, which we haven't actually had completely in hand. And a final 12 of figures after all of this has happened, so we may even have more art to talk about in a part 2.
Do you think the final 12 will attract their own individual artwork?
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they don't do a Star Brigade on us and just have the same repeated artwork on each thing. But I'd imagine you'd have artwork for each one. It's always been the case. I mean, even with the Joke-On exclusive stuff that doesn't necessarily come on a card, they still do artwork for individual characters, and they come out in strange ways. Like I know the magazine had like a spread with I think like the Sky Patrol individual kind of bad guys in there, even though they didn't come on card. So I know for a fact that you'll still get, you know, artwork for them, just maybe not necessarily on the actual card. But I would imagine I'd be surprised if we didn't get some sort of, you know, Night Force homage there. I haven't seen anything, but I think that would be pretty cool.
It's my understanding that the final 12 are going to be released in 2 packs.
Yeah.
So would they have the sort of the box with an artwork on either side, on either flap?
Well, that's what my Night Force comment was about. Like, you know, because they came, the true exclusive Night Force came in 2 packs. And it was effectively 2 cards mushed together. Like you had.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You had card art on both sides, so like kind of attacking each other almost, even though they're on the same side. So I'd love to see something like that done.
They'll do sort of a ultimate enemies, Voltar versus Muskrat style.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll do that thing that they do to the European Tiger Force cards, where they add those like it looks like red thunder.
Oh yeah,
lightning.
The red thunder light. Yeah, the lightning in the background. Yeah, that was. That was. I loved that. I love the fact we had a slightly different card art for the Tiger Force. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, I even did a small nod to it when Jim did our custom figures. I did that to the Outback card.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I was like, it's a Euro exclusive. Outback didn't come out in the States, and yay. So I wonder how many people actually got that when they saw that. But whatever, you know, one can try. So hopefully, whoever the artist is,
Yeah. I was going to say, like, I kind of thought the club missed a trick a little bit with, you know, like when you had like Tiger Force Outback and Tiger Force Sneak Peek, which we'll talk about, I imagine, in this particular episode. But like that they didn't just go full Tiger Force, even if it's the US Tiger Force backing card. I'm surprised they didn't do that to really tie it in, and then you flip it over and the file card's yellow. I think that would have been like a really nice touch, and I've always said from the start that there's one thing that's really upset me about the vintage carded club figures, and that's that they don't have the other figure characters on the back, much like the old vintage cards. I've always thought that would have just been amazing to have like the full lineup, and then that like one mystery 13th figure with the coming soon explosion in the background until, you know, you don't know until you get the 13th. I think that would have been a really cool like marketing touch, but I don't know, it's probably it must be some reason they didn't do that.
Yeah, maybe they did the artwork and stuff before they even did the figures. So
then they had to be consistent with this sort of precedent that they set already.
Yeah.
Damn. But guys, I think we're actually raring to go. We want to start this contest. In true G.I. Joburg style, we've got a 16-slot bracket, knockout style, just like the World Cup.
Perfect.
I still don't know the outcome of the final, so don't spoil it. Thanks, guys.
That's the one where they white ball at each other.
Yeah, that checkered ball, though they sometimes switch it up. Anyways, we're talking about G.I. Joe, right? The list of figures are seeded based on popularity,
which you can see on this pretty graphic that has been displayed on this video.
Magic. G.I. Joburg reaches the 21st century. Photoshop is a thing. And we are going to go through the list, pitting the sort of top seeded against the bottom seeded until we whittle it down to our quarterfinals, then semis, and then finally our two finest or most popular or most critically acclaimed artworks are going to battle it head to head to announce G.I. Joburg's favorite pick.
And hopefully there won't be any semis there. It'll be full-on hard-ons. Oh, wait, wrong podcast.
Too many dudes.
Amazing.
First up, we have the top seed, Interrogator, versus a 4th seeded artwork, Wide Scope. Who wants to crack open on this one?
I'd like to go first, if that's okay.
Please do.
So that was really rude. I'm like, you guys, I'm going first. I didn't mean it like that as such. There's a couple of things I want to say here. First off, we're looking at two pieces of art here by a good friend of mine and of the and a presenter on the Full Force, Adam Riches, who does incredible card art. And I just wanted to kind of just quickly run through my things with these two pieces of art. Now, I think they're both wonderful, actually. Interrogator and Widescope, they're two of my... If there was a top 10, they'd be in the middle. But, they're around that way. They're up there. And with Interrogator, I just love the mystery around him and the kind of... it's very kind of eerie looking, and the pose is very sinister. It's not too... there's not a lot going on. He's standing up and he's holding a gun and, holding a knife in, like, reverse kind of motion. But he kind of matches his character very well. On the other hand, you've got Widescope, and I just think he's more dynamic, and I think there's more going on, and I love Lamont. I think he looks amazing in this artwork. And again, another little thing you may not know is Widescope is actually Adam Riches. So when he drew this, he modelled the pose, took a picture of it behind a white screen, and he's told this in his last panel at JoeCon. And so it's him kind of dressed up and looking like Widescope, and then obviously he goes in and paints over it effectively. But yeah, so Widescope is actually Adam. So I really just have to say from the off on this matchup is I'm going to have to go with Widescope on this, because for a number of reasons though. For one, because I think he's an overlooked character, and I think Adam made him very, very cool on this artwork. 2, the dynamism that's going on in that image, and 3, the fact that Lamont's in there, and there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of action going on, and I feel I'm more interested in that than I am with Interrogator. But that's I think they're both amazing.
Cool.
Wow. Okay. So Widescope is off the mark, and interesting. We might be in for an upset. Paul, what's your opinion, brother?
Oh, here we go. Okay, cool. So let me just preface by saying, firstly, I'm an illustrator. This is what I do. If you have listened to the show, you know this. If you haven't, well, now you know, and you know what knowing is.
Doing.
It's doing. Don't say that. We can't say that. Also, I've met Adam Riches. What a very, very cool guy. He actually gave me a few prints. So I'm already liking his artwork because he gave me stuff. No, I'm kidding. Adam, if you're listening to this, your stuff's awesome. And I just want to put it out there that we are critting the work, or actually we're putting artwork together. We've purposefully chosen the stuff that we think is the best. So we're not going to go and say, oh, this artwork's crap or anything like that. So you can relax, buddy. It's going to be okay. Because I know what it's like to have your work critted in front of you. If you're a professional in the industry, you just hear all the about your art. So don't worry, you're safe, buddy. Okay, incidentally, I also chose Interrogator and Widescope. Haha, they were part of my mystery picks. And for many of the Widescope, for many of the same reasons that Chris mentioned, I love the dynamism of the pose. It's definitely not Shockwave when you look at the artwork, which is a cool thing because I know that it's a character that you can easily sort of mistake for Shockwave. The dog is great. I don't know what the dog's name is.
Lamont.
The dog is great. Lamont is great. And the eyes, now that I know that it's Adam Riches, I kind of have to laugh now. Now I kind of...
You have to imagine that beard. That finely manicured, beautiful, lustrous beard.
It's a very, very cool artwork. And that gun is the only thing that stops me from voting it over Interrogator. Because I know what a it was to draw that gun. I have been in situations where they tell you, draw it exactly like it is on the toy, and you just want to embellish it, and you just want to add stuff to it, and you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
And I get that. And I definitely feel that coming off the piece. But when I look at Interrogator, I'm like, wow, this is a sexy artwork. I've never seen an artwork of Interrogator before. I think there's a small little bit of an Interrogator artwork on the Battlecopter. I think it is, but I can't for the life of me remember it right now.
Well, he's attached to the copter. It's not the most, scary or ominous art in the world, is it? Yeah. And
literally, like I said, the only thing that stops me from choosing Widescope over this Interrogator is actually the gun, because they both, I think in a lot of ways, they're evenly matched. They both got a great atmosphere to them, and how badass does this Interrogator look? Seriously, look at this.
Oh, he does, yeah.
Looks so cool. And he's got like a SOCOM. Well, it's like a semi-SOCOM. But it doesn't matter because he's super awesome. So my vote goes to Interrogator. Ha-ha! Sorry, White
All right.
I must say, Paul, though, I do agree with everything you said there. I think mine is simply because of the pose and again, like, he looked awesome. Like, I can't say anything. I mean, Interrogator, it looks incredible, but I just love Widescope's art so much. But anyway, I've done mine.
Fanboy. All good.
Gentlemen, we are split. Rob, do you want to weigh in, brother? Swing us one way or the other?
Goodness. Yeah, these are both really absolutely amazing. We keep saying that. And it's cool that we also kind of have two blue uniform characters going up against each other. And the artwork is amazing. And yes, they both kind of convey like kind of who they are, what they do. I mean, Interrogator's like very menacing. Widescope looks like, he's about to take it out. And also, I mean, I don't really have a problem with that gun. I don't know what Paul's talking about. It kind of seems to sit well in the position that's pictured there.
Isn't it the detailing? Isn't like the detailing on the actual gun? It looks a little bit more of like a giant toy than an actual weapon.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that's not Adam's fault.
That's
the art director. That's the client.
In fact, it's further enhanced by the excellent work that Adam did on Shockwave. I mean, Bomb Strikes. I mean, what?
Widescope.
Sorry, this figure falls out of my ken. But Widescope's excellent hands, the depth and shading on his gloves really push it, yards apart from the flatness of the weapon.
And I do love that he sort of almost pushes it outwards into sort of a cartoony kind of like exaggeration. Like, those hands are quite big. I mean, foreshortening and everything, but he still gives it like a bit of a comic-y edge, and it actually makes the artwork better. If he had tried to keep it more realistically sort of scaled, I don't want to say proportions because the proportions are correct. If he had used a different lens, so to speak, it wouldn't have had the same dynamism. And it's something that stood out. I mean, this artwork was one of the first ones that hit my list because it jumped out at me. It was like, it arrested me, but it could be because it had the gun out. Anyway, Rob.
Which way you gonna go, Rob?
Interrogator doesn't have an animal companion, so I'm gonna go with Widescope.
Good man.
Because animals are hard to draw, Rob.
Exactly, and Lamont is very well drawn.
I think I'm gonna let Cooch come in and be the swing vote because I'm gonna have to go with the Interrogator. It's just all down to that helmet and the incredible sort of hot and cold lighting that we've got on it. Just really highlighting exactly how special that figure design is. It all comes down to that awesome Boba Fett style helmet and the potential that this character gives us. Like, he's a blank canvas. Is it even a he? I know Curtis has riffed about this in times before, but what if he pulled off that mask and you had the Princess Leia in disguise effect? That, bam, it's actually a female Cobra operative? Interesting.
Who's this? Someone that loves you.
So we are hung at 2 votes each.
We're well hung.
We are very well hung. Straight out the gate. Bam. Like
Full
a baby
force.
holding an apple.
Losing people all over the place. Let's see. I do like both these characters. I did chat up Rich's. So on the tip of art critiques, the dude draws people in front of explosions. He can take heat. Any artist can. I'll start with Interrogator. I do like the character. All the reasons that have been spoken upon. He does have some 3s on him. I'll take it.
Dun, dun, dun.
I do have issue because maybe his coolest weapon has been cropped out. The knife says more Interrogator than the silencer does to me.
Agreed.
So I would have liked to have seen something maybe a little more aggressive, but I do like it. As far as Widescope, he's too pretty, man. He's too pretty. And I'm going to do this just because I think Riches may enjoy this if his own personal avatar isn't battling its way through. But I do like the animal companion. Does he have a dog like that? Because that's a beautiful painting. Let's see. Yeah, too pretty. Got to get some shadows in there somewhere. But I'm going to go with Interrogator. But yeah, that's it.
Damn.
Nice.
Widescope wipes out. Interrogator progresses to the quarterfinals.
Oh, why are you hating on dogs?
Next up, gentlemen, Iron Claw versus the first of our lucky losers. It's Big Bear. And I think, Cujo, you topped us off in the last one. Do you want to open this one up?
I would. I'd like to see it develop. Honestly, I would love to love Big Bear, but I don't get a lot from him. He would really have to get some intensity out of those eyes to really bring you into that card. But it's well rendered, and I do like kind of the shadow, who knows the evil that lurks in the hearts of men. Big Bear, maybe. But going over to, let's see, who's the other guy in the battle?
Iron Claw.
That would be Iron Claw.
Does his red pointer thing have a name?
Awkward.
I'm going to call it the Fire Poker. Oh, no. The Fire Scratcher. Let's call it that.
Double Dipper?
Don't ever call it the Double Dipper.
Regardless, he's wearing it, so that was the right choice for me. He's got to have that weapon on. The only problem is you have a revolver and you went with the gun with the knife flare on it. You can't have two fancy weapons. You can't two-fist. You got to have like a straight weapon and then the Fire Scratcher. But I am going to roll with, I'll go with Iron Claw just because he's busy, but he's my kind of busy, at least this round. What say you?
Can I just draw attention to the term two-fisting it that you kind of danced around? That was something that I think only is commonly used in the United States. I mean, is it to mean like dual wielding?
Like
or
drinking
double parking?
2 pints at the same time, usually.
But Chris, I mean, you can speak to the awkwardness of that
course.
term.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Gee.
I was holding back because I don't want to keep interrupting. But yeah, effectively, because that also is a very, very naughty term if you consider, I don't know, pornography, for example.
I don't watch pornography. I don't know what you mean.
Well,
Tell me.
The medium of podcasting allows you some ambiguity, so I'm going to image.
Exactly. And I agree with him. It definitely, this guy is double fisting it in all sorts of different directions.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Do you want to follow that up with your vote, Chris?
Sure. I mean, I was going to wait till last on this one because I feel like I rudely interrupted to go first. But I have to say there's a couple of things about Iron Claw that just take me away from this as being, I don't know, a really good piece of art, which I don't want to kind of like rip on it too much, but the right arm, I mean, this guy has been working out just that right arm to hold that fire poker because, like, I mean, proportionally, he's all over the place. I mean, I think the artist is trying to suggest that he's at a slight angle so that his left arm is a little further away. But even with that slight angle, you wouldn't get that size differential. Like, it wouldn't be that much. And obviously, the chest doesn't look like it's at that much of an angle either because of the straps that you can see quite clearly cutting almost centrally. So I'm a little bit like concerned about proportions here. I love the character. I think he's awesome. I love how, like Cujo said, like, the busyness of him. It's great. I mean, the more the merrier, the more colors. I mean, look at the different amount of colors on him. He's all black, but then you've got purple, gold, red. It's like, and then like chrome, and you're thinking, wow, like this guy's got it going on.
Extreme?
Yeah, big time.
Totally
nice
extreme.
Nice touch. But I think that weapon on his right arm, I think, really needs to just be a little bit more, I don't know, a bit more carefully drawn. Because I think, the top piece is bending, it's almost as if they've taken the toy, which has come out bent, out of the package, and they've gone literally, let's draw this exactly as it is out of the package, because I kind of feel that needs to be a little bit straighter, though that needs to have a little bit more care attached to it, even though there's a more cartoony feel. And because of that, I'm going to go with Big Bear, because I know there's not much going on with Big Bear. He's standing there, he's holding his weapon, his face is almost hidden, but I don't know, I find him more real in terms of proportions and stuff. Iron Claw I love as a character, but the artwork, the proportions take me out of it.
All right. Okay.
That's one each.
Gee whiz. We are very split on this battle. Robbie? No, wait. Let's have you bookend this guy. Paul, give us an artistic appraisal, brother.
Oh, here we go. Okay, Iron Claw. I mean, I just did some Google foo as well, just to see if there was ever an original packaging art for Iron Claw. Turns out there isn't. because my first instinct when I saw this artwork was that it was a retooled vintage artwork that had just maybe been touched up or photoshopped. But it turns out it's not.
It's Destro, isn't it?
Whoever did this...
Isn't it just drawn on top of Destro, effectively?
It looks like it's just been drawn over Destro because of the pants. The pants are what gives it away. So, it's very much a retooled... It feels like a retooled artwork. And in some cases, that can be a very cool thing if it's handled well. And perhaps I'll even mention that in other artworks when we get to them. Yeah, and there's a goofiness about it that makes it work, but there are certain things that irritate the crap out of me. That arm, that front right arm, I mean, Chris has mentioned the pokey points. They bug me. But the muscle, actually the musculature on the upper arm, that was poorly handled, but, I'm not going to begrudge this poor guy like his anatomy. It's actually just that bottom left leg, not the artwork's left leg, the left leg on the artwork as you're looking at it. The foreshortening and the depth and whatever is just completely messed up. And that has a lot to do with the angle of the creases and folds on the pants. I mean, if one wants to get really technical. But that just keeps messing me up. I keep going, oh, that's a really cool, it's unfinished. That's just like how my brain goes. My brain just goes, oh, this is really interesting. Oh, it needs to be finished. Big Bear. Okay, so this was kind of a cool thing, because if you look at the original card art for Big Bear, he's like, I'm going to kill you all, with his big rocket pack and everything. And his big rocket launcher and everything. And he looks really, really cool. And I think first prize would have been to do like a modern sort of re-envisioning of that artwork. But they couldn't, because obviously they didn't want to use that same gun. So they went for a more sort of mature look for him and completely redesigned the toy and a lot of the character's design. And I dig it. I think it's a very, very cool artwork. It's full disclosure, neither of these artworks were picks of mine that I had thrown into the mix. So I'm essentially the devil's advocate on this one. But I think, it's got to go to Big Bear. It's a much better artwork. There's more attention to detail. There's more careful attention to detail. It's more finished, if that makes sense. And that pose is great. Just like, I'm Big Bear. I'm coming to kill you. It's or save you. Whatever. Maybe we go get vodka, It's like,
you.
Or you, whatever. Whatever comes first. Hopefully not me. So, you know what I mean? No, I dig him. I dig it. It's a cool artwork. Seeing this makes me want to buy the toy again, but then I'm like, I don't have a card to sell to get one. Anyway, so that's one more vote for Big Bear.
Then I'm going to follow hot on her heels, Paul, and say I'm also going Big Bear.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You just wanted to make my vote superfluous.
Oh, man. Well, I told you you'd go at the end. So, sorry, man. That's just how the cards have been dealt. Big Bear was a lucky loser that I put into the hat, actually. I guess I just love the more passive poses. Not every card art has to have the character attacking you. Big Bear is just giving you that steely, blue-eyed gaze. And it's not the eyes that jump out at you first, but because he's not doing any overt action, it forces you to kind of get drawn in and really observe what's going on in the artwork. And it is a more pensive, passive, introspective moment. And those are the card artworks that really speak to me, because it's far more interesting to interpret what the character is thinking, or what he's facing. I imagine this is the first moment we've seen a member of the October Guard. There's been a loud knock, the door is blown down, and it's not Cobra, it's something else. It's our pals from Soviet Russia. Could they be coming to our rescue, or could they be working their own angle? Probably both. But that's the story that I get from this, which contrasts to very limited storytelling that you get from Ironclaw's card. I mean, it's like, yeah,
I'll jump at you.
Disproportionately.
Look at my sticky tongues.
Poker attack.
I'm going to attack you with my out-of-shape weapon and my weird arm. Let's go.
And his elbow. Rob, I'm sorry to make your vote superfluous, but give us your appraisal anyways, brother.
Nah, dude, it's going to be a mystery forever.
Okay.
Actually, I would have gone with Big Bear too.
All right.
Is it because his name is an animal?
Yeah.
That works. Cool.
Well, Iron Claw, there's no animals in there.
Right, the character's called Iron Claw. If there's one thing you shouldn't mess up on the artwork, it should be his Iron Claw, right? I mean, you know.
Fire sticker.
Hold on. You're telling
Fire
me you don't
scratcher.
want a claw around corners? Fire,
No,
fire scratcher, I will walk with you.
But still, if your name is Iron Claw, then the claw on the artwork should be like
Good.
super awesome. Yeah, good.
Need some anime twinkles on it.
Well, in spite of your praise, Cujo, unfortunately, Iron Claw is knocked out. Big Bear, surprisingly, proceeds to the next round. Surprisingly, because Iron Claw, as I say, was our second seeded artwork.
Interesting.
Wow. Very interesting.
Sorry,
I think perhaps people were letting the character choice and the figure maybe
I agree.
cloud their appraisal of the artwork. I mean, these are hard things to disassociate, and perhaps in latter rounds we can actually talk about the presentation of the figure beside the artwork on the card. But in this opener, we are speaking specifically artwork, and on artwork alone, Big Bear appears to be the stronger work. Next up, Bombardier versus Skullbuster. And I'm going to swing the mic in favor of the United Kingdom again because it's Bombardier. I mean, come on.
True that. I mean,
Hype this figure, hype this character for us.
okay, so obviously this means a lot to me, Dave Tree, who is, again, another member of the Full Force podcast team. He hasn't been on an episode in a while, but he's still a member, trust me. He's obviously kind of big in the Palatoy, Star Wars and Action Force kind of arenas. Back in the day when Ron Connor found this figure in, I think he eventually kind of came to the conclusion, I think it was in one of Kirk Bazigian's, like when he was selling them at like a show or something. I think that's where he found this figure. And it was this weirdly coloured Flash. It was like strangely decoed Flash. And he was like, I don't really know what this figure is or where it's from. Kirk didn't seem to know. He said, I think he got it off like an employee at Hasbro or someone else along the line he'd picked it up from. And so he's wandering around with this figure like, what is this? Puts it on the boards. Everyone's kind of saying it's probably just a custom, all this kind of stuff, coming out. But it didn't feel like it was just a custom that someone had knocked up and thrown in there. And one day, Dave Tree not the other side of the world. That's where you are, Stephen. So in the UK, he was at a museum, I think one of the toy museums in the UK. And he was doing something for Star Wars. It wasn't for Action Force. And he went into the kind of the depths to do this research for this Star Wars thing he was doing, for like a Palatoy talk. And he came across this like little drawer that he opened up, and all these things marked Special Weapons Force, and he opened all these things bagged up, and but basically he didn't have much time, so he quickly grabbed a lot of this stuff, took it out of the bags, took pictures of it. There was some paperwork in there as well, I believe, including like catalogue page and stuff like that, if I'm remembering rightly. I think he ended up going back again to take more pictures of this stuff, and in there was another Flash repaint, similar but not exactly the same to the one that Ron Connor had, and it just seemed a little bit too much of a coincidence that these two things existed and would have this like the similar color schemes and everything. And Dave put it out there, said, is this what we're looking for? Because effectively it was a figure that should have come out, or was going to come out, in another Palatoy Action Force team to go along with SAS, Q Force, Z Force, Red Shadows, etc. And it was going to be the Special Weapons team. And I mean, there were pictures now of the kind of pre-production catalog setup. And they had like a vamp. They had some other bits and pieces coloured in that kind of cool yellow and like baby blue and grey kind of colouring with the logo of the Special Weapons team all over it. And one of those figures was this Bombardier, and that was the only thing written on his bag, I believe, that he found this figure in. So Bombardier was the name that stuck. And everyone just kind of, when it was kind of like first revealed to the community, there was a little bit of pushback. I wasn't aware at the time this was going on. This was on things like kind of whatever forums were kind of big at that time, and I kind of came into it late. Like I heard about this story after the fact, but heard it so many times since. and so like this figure all of a sudden becomes lore in Action Force and G.I. Joe, and everyone started accepting the fact that it was this figure that Ron had found, and that the connection still isn't like 100% clear on what it actually is or how it came to be in their possession. but that it's just accepted as that's the Bombardier pre-production attempt. Like this is what you would have had as a special weapons team. Now on top of that, the club decided to make a figure out of it, and they repainted the Flash figure, and we got Bombardier, which I think is a really nice homage. And on top of that, they made the name Connor D. Tree is the name of the his file name, which is a nod to David Tree and Ron Connor, who found the figure in the first place. So it was really like a nice, kind of full circle type situation. Now I have another story about this, which you'll love. Adam Riches again has done the art for this, and before we met Adam, Dave had already been to Indianapolis, but Dave and I then went to the next JoeCon together, which was Dallas. And we're on the floor, I think Dave was signing, he was signing art, like card art of Bombardier for people and figures for people, which I thought was brilliant. And Kevin Watts had asked him to just do real horror. Kevin Watts, if you knew Kevin Watts, which you might do, he is hilarious, lovely guy, but he loves ridiculous things. And he said to Dave, draw whatever you want on it, say horrible things on it. I want it defaced by you, but I want it, because that's what he wanted from Dave to do. So Dave is there scribbling on this card art, drawing, on it and fart smoke and all this kind of stuff, and writing horrible stuff all over it. And Adam Riches, who had never met either of us before, walks up behind Dave, sees what he's doing, knows exactly what's going on, but decides to play along, and says, "Oh, hey, how you doing? I like what you're doing on that." And Dave didn't know Adam, so he's talking to him and laughing about and everything. And I'm standing away from this, going, I knew who Adam was. I didn't know him at that point, but I knew who he was, and I was like, I've got to take a picture of this going down. I wish I'd taken a video. I wish I'd been quick enough to take a video of the whole thing, but he's like, Dave eventually comes, realizes that it's Adam he's talking to, did the art, and he's like, oh, and he just he went white, completely white, and Adam was just in fits of laughter, that he'd caught him doing this to his artwork. And ever since then we've all been really close friends because of that moment, I think, of catching Dave defacing his artwork. But now coming to the actual, the thing that you asked me for in the first place.
This is a good pair of stories.
Apologies for the length on that.
Very insider.
But
it's only a good story if you have action figures doing what you're saying on the YouTubes.
Good luck.
I'm going to flash some pictures up, but I'm not in the animation skill department yet.
No, neither are we. Come on. You just got to join the fad
you guys should do
playing with your action figures on camera. No.
You guys
should Force needs to get off the starting blocks.
You guys should buy an original Bombardier, and that wouldn't be too expensive.
Great, and put it in the sand and yeah, drag it through the water and the mud. Yeah, no, that's why we buy beaters.
I'll tell Dave to play around with the pre-production ones that he finds at that museum next time. But to talk about Bombardier versus Skullbuster for a second, again, two completely different things, but completely different styles, two different pieces of art. One is Adam, obviously, as you know. I'm not going to be biased each time, but I do love the Skullbusters one for a couple of reasons. One, it's just so aggressive. I think it would be this kind of Ronaldo about to take a free kick kind of stance, where he's got the split legs, and he's got he's basically what I think is happening is he's just either about to or is tearing into a team of Action Force or G.I. Joe team of G.I. Joe characters. And much like the Saw Viper did in the Marvel run, where he just wiped out loads of characters and they were dead, shock horror. I kind of feel like this is what's happening here. Even though you can't see his face, that mask always makes him look like he's got this horrible smile on there. And again, I kind of feel like he's enjoying what he's doing right now, and that comes out to me almost tells a story in the artwork. If you get really close to it, detail wise, it's a bit more kind of sketchy and scratchy than, say, Adam's very polished, very almost, it's not photorealistic, but it's got that kind of sheen to it. And again, I love how he's done Bombardier, and he didn't even model it on Dave, but it's got that little bit of Dave in the face, which I think is quite funny. I feel like it is Dave when I look at it because of that, and because I like the Skullbuster one, but I think in terms of artwork, I just think Bombardier is just a bit richer. Adam Richer.
Nice. It's a very fertile tree. Terrible.
And I swear my next installment won't be that long. Apologies.
Well, if you got inside stories, keep them coming. Don't feel the need to censor yourself, my man. My inside story relates to Skullbuster. Is that not Evie from I Found You, ellipsis, Evie, the Deke animated series?
Interesting.
We have a purple range viper who is a female who has had prior dealings with Ambush. Is this not a figure encapsulation of that figure? I mean, of that character?
I definitely think they took the homage of the purple, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually not sure where the hell Skullbuster comes from, actually. But that is a good a reason as any, actually, Steve. Like, I hope somebody is listening to this and they're like, oh, you know, like maybe it wasn't, but now they're like, oh crap, it's on the Deke show.
I mean, it's possible, plausible that is, a Captain Phasma type female who's just really tall and really imposing. Hence the depiction on the card.
I would suggest it's probably more of an homage to the character in the color department, but I totally think they've definitely thought of that when thinking about, well, how do we do a range viper officer? How do we do someone that stands out from the range vipers to lead them, for example? I think it's like, well, wasn't the one in the Deke cartoon that was purple? Then let's do that. I think that's probably what's happened in that thought process throughout the kind of. But again, that's complete speculation. I haven't got a clue really. That's just me balling. Is that a word? Spitballing.
Does anyone want to champion Evie? I mean, Skullbuster?
Like, stand up for it.
I'll weigh in.
Nice.
Speaking to what D80 was saying with the polish or the sheen that Riches puts on the cards. If there's one thing that my brain fought against for a while when I was looking at Rich's art, was that it was too clean. But when you're looking at Skullbuster, as D80 said, there is a little bit of wear and tear on the image, a little bit. And I do like how the negative space or the blackness of the card or the character draws you in. Unfortunately, again, he's not really deferring to either weapon, unless I'm looking at it wrong. But both weapons are kind of covered by... So I would like to see one of those massive guns looking somewhere at the camera. Having said that, I am going to go with Skullbuster. I think there was a Skullbuster in the IDW series. I don't know if he looked like that, but I believe there was.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would make total sense. I'm going to weigh in. Sorry, Kujo, you're still going, bud? So are you pro Skullbuster? You're full on Skullbuster here. I
think so. I mean, HCC championed Bombardier. HCC likes that from Twitter. I see it. Like, it has good flow because a good sense of action, some smoke coming out of the barrel, and he's also facing that way, so the danger is obviously not quite over. So I like that, but yeah, Skullbuster for me.
Well, I'm gonna throw my ones and twos quickly. Okay, this Skullbuster's artwork was, for me, a much better artwork for the standard range viper that came on the Defense of Cobra Island box set.
Yeah.
I love this image, and you do get to see it properly at the back of that box. So when I look at it here, it's not that it's a bad artwork. In fact, I am really in love with this artwork. It's just that I feel that it's kind of just a lazy color conversion. It literally is, you know, when people say press the design button in Photoshop, yeah, it really is that kind of thing. It's basically a color balance. I mean, some masks were made, some curves were adjusted, and boom. So like, because I've seen this artwork used before for the Range Viper, I just feel like this is lazy. But I do understand if somebody's never seen the Range Viper before and they see this for the first time, why they would go like ape for it, because it's a cool artwork.
Yeah.
So, and also like, it doesn't really sell the character as anything special for me, which you got to admit, even Ironclaw does that. I mean, it might be Destro with different clothing on, but it still sells itself as something different. So my money is going to go on Bombardier. And I just want to just mention why, just quickly. Normally, I don't go for super clean artwork. I also enjoy a little bit of roughness and whatever, but I do understand that when it comes to packaging art, you do have to have like a cleanliness and a very strong like consistency that goes from the top of the artwork to the bottom of the artwork, because it's a product shot. I mean, that's essentially what it is, right? And I think Adam has done an exceptionally good job here with regards to that missile launcher, because if you see the toy, it's Cheeseball. Not the figure of Bombardier, but his little robot rocket launching companion. But in the artwork, he's actually made it look really cool. And that has been part of the magic of a lot of the 90s Joes, like the early 90s Joes. A lot of their rocket launchers sometimes make or break their artwork. And when it makes the artwork, it looks very cool. And in the case of characters like Sci-Fi and sort of Snake Eyes, sort of. But then it also breaks the artwork. And same example, Snake Eyes. So I'm going to go for Bombardier just because I think all the elements are handled well. It could have just been a straight-up copy of... I swear I'm going to say Grand Slam, but it could have been a straight-up copy of Flash's artwork and just been reskinned, and it wasn't. It's something completely different and completely new, and I like it, and I'm going to give it my vote. Not saying Skullbuster's artwork is bad, it's just that I've seen it used better. And I can't help it, but that figure freaks me out. It's just like a purple range viper. I think if you
That's
bought
exactly
that, you
what
got
it
a bit...
is.
Like silly.
And a female. Mm-hmm.
I'm actually props. If it was a woman, that would be awesome. If they had done a female range viper,
that'd been
like
sweet.
I would love that. Because I love range vipers. I think they're some of the coolest things in Cobra.
Rob, we have the opportunity to upset this. Are we going to, though?
Well, what I find interesting about Bombardier is that it is actually a reuse, at least the faces of Grand Slam, who was released in the same year.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, which I find a bit like cheap to kind of reuse the same face. I mean, I understand, it's easy to kind of put the same face on different artworks, but kind of putting Grand Slam and Bombardier next to each other, I'm like, it's the same dude. It's the same guy. I mean, I like the gun. I think it looks really cool. It's kind of nice, like lighting coming off, the side of the character and stuff. And the pose is pretty dynamic, and the use of the gun is pretty cool. But I just think Skullbuster looks really menacing. I think it's really fantastic. Like that helmet is just, it's so menacing and insane. And yeah, it both paint really interesting moments, like, oh, I just blasted something, are they going to come out that building now? And then Skullbuster obviously is just mowing people down, and she is laughing her head off. She's like, die nuns.
Die nuns.
The demonic
she was
range
raised in
viper
an
commander.
orphanage, and now she's got an opportunity to come back years later to wipe them all out. She's like, you should have taught me better now, then I wouldn't be with Cobra.
That's for beating me up in the
a female deer.
But where you go, I'll find you.
Gee whiz, I had no idea this would be the turn of events. I did not expect to be the swing vote, but
Damn,
Rob,
son.
I've got to disagree with you, man. I've got to push it back in favor of Bombardier simply because Skullbuster is a purple figure. That's its thing.
We're not talking about the figures, though. We're talking about the art. And
the artwork does not reflect that. You cannot have the artwork at odds with the figure's color palette. It's like, which one am I buying again? The only time I've ever found that acceptable was on the Hydro Viper card. If you guys can cast your mind back to 1988's Hydro Viper, the colors are more subdued. It's not quite as vivid a purple. But that's because you're seeing it underwater, where all colors get kind of washed either towards a black or a white on the spectrum. So that's where I find it acceptable. I do not find it acceptable with Skullbuster. I'm like, I want it to be purple. I want it to reflect what the action figure is, and it doesn't. So it loses all that potential that I spoke about. Its ability to transcend gender barriers, like you even be a callback to a DIC character, a named character, a faced character even. So based on that alone, I cannot accept you, Skullbuster. Sorry. It's just another range viper, guys.
It's interesting how the same things happen to Rob that happened to me. Because I've seen this artwork used as a range viper, it's completely colored my opinion of seeing it now as the range viper commander.
Yeah.
As Skullbuster. And it's the same thing for Rob. Him having seen, is it Grand Slam, you said, Rob?
Yeah, Grand Slam. But it's in the same year even. It's not even like from a previous year where like, oh, okay, I'm running low on time. I gotta, an image you reuse the face from this one. It's literally in the same year.
I don't suppose it helps to mention that Grand Slam was the 13th figure on that wave. It was the kind of the bonus.
Yeah, it was. I think they were in, let me think, because they're both Yeah, okay. So Bombardier was in the actual lineup, and Grand Slam was the 13th. But I think I think that's the club as opposed to the artist in that particular scenario, saying that this is what we want, and then you execute it, as opposed to, So I think in terms of that, I don't think it should be it should be viewed as a point against the artwork per se, because if it was down to the artist, I'm sure Adam would have either given it a different face or.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely get it. But luckily, Grand Slam isn't under consideration.
True.
I mean, then that means that Bombardier did come first, and Grand Slam was like, okay, Adam, just do the thing and make it slightly different.
Yeah.
Press the Photoshop button.
Skullbuster, turn these fools into Swiss cheese.
Oh, man.
Next time.
Well,
Quinto, next
not for lack of trying, but Skullbuster scrubs out in the qualifiers, and Bombardier
Keep knocking out
progresses.
people's favorite choices. Damn it. Sorry, audience. We're a bunch of naysayers.
Well, the thing is, like, that's Skullbuster artwork, and it's the last thing I want to say about it, but it does remind me of the Range Viper's appearance from the video game, from the Tactile video game.
yeah, because of the bad quality of graphics.
Well,
no, I agree.
yeah.
I totally agree with you, mate. Yeah, no, I've just been...
The pose, yeah. Is that? Oh, okay.
Once you realise that's what it is, then you can just ignore what I say pretty much every time.
Cool. Who's next? Who's on the
Next
firing
up.
line next?
Oh yes, it's a round that I'm sure you'll get a kick out of, Paul. We have two Tiger Force figures, two Tiger Force artworks, squaring off against one another, and I think I'm going to call upon the opinion of Robert to kick this one off. Let me announce the bloody artworks. It's
Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Outback versus Tiger Force Sneak Peek.
Wow.
Nice.
Dun dun dun.
It had to be a Tiger Force double header, or is it a
Double fister?
Double fist. Yes. Okay, so just remind me, the Outback is a retouching of an older artwork?
It's basically the same one, isn't it? A reuse of the vintage one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what I thought it was.
I think the backpack is changed, and there's some elements they've changed on it, and you can kind of tell because it's surrounded by that kind of white line.
Yeah, because they kind of like cut it out and they put in this new one on top of
Easy
it.
now.
And then we have Sneak Peek, who feels very completely original. He's pictured with his periscope, very cool. But there's just something about the more classic look of the original artwork original as in vintage artwork for Outback, which I just think looks really epic. It's like he's ready for the outdoors. He's got his gun ready. He's like, I'm gonna take on those trees and rivers, whippersnappers.
I'm gonna eat some bark.
Well, Sneak Peek is very passively just looking off into the distance. He's like, oh, when will she actually have that shower?
I think he looks like he wants a burger. I think the thoughts there are on food, Rob, more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, he's also in the middle of nowhere, kind of watching something. But yeah, I think
also a little chunky.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah,
word!
he's a little bit.
The action figure,
but-
he's got a little bit of a boop.
Yeah, he's always eating a lot because he's always on his own, sneak peeking.
For those of you who
Peeking
missed
sneaks.
that, Paul referenced an Afrikaans term for belly, a boop.
That's why I said paunch afterwards as well.
Oh,
Then I was
haunch.
like,
We lost it.
Is paunch an English word? I don't know. I don't know anymore.
And now you know, and the other half is doing. Continue.
So I fully support Outback. I think there's just something about the classic artwork. I mean, not to take anything away from anyone's reconstructed or newer artworks, but I look at Outback's artwork and it makes me want to buy that figure. I look at Sneak Peek and I'm like, I could get that after lunch.
After he has lunch.
Yes.
All right.
I'll be right back.
I'm going to back you up on that. I mean, it might seem like a bit of a cheat to nominate artwork that has borrowed very heavily, if not just taken wholeheartedly from the original.
Whole cloth, even.
But it is a valid consideration. It's a figure subscription service artwork. This was the card that was released, and it's a valid pick to say Outback. Awesome original artwork that has not been ruined. So it's going to sneak through on my dime.
Ooh.
Cujo, what do you say, brother?
Sneaky. I mean, it kind of makes sense. You're not going to burn a whole lot of calories sneaking around. I mean, this is one time that, thank God this is going to YouTube. It might find some different circles. Hasbro, Old Navy. This is a body wash waiting to happen. Outback, take the gun out of his hand or the backpack and put some body wash. And then you package it with that little scrunchie, except for it's an explosion. Red, orange, yellow. It's a.
Oh, you mean the
anyway.
loofah thing?
Yes, it's a dead giveaway. But no, I like the pose. It's very stoic. I think I said once upon a time that it reminded me of Washington, like across the Potomac or whatever. But no, he's in charge. It's a great picture for that kind of wild body wash thing. So yeah, I like it. Outback for me.
Oh wow!
Wow. We've just made. Yeah, what would you have chosen?
Oh well, I'm actually going to say a couple of things here. First, on the sneak peek art, again, Adam did the sneak peek art, and obviously the Outback one is original. On this particular scenario, I would go with Outback, but only because that character from the original card art to the Tiger Force Euro exclusive Tiger Force card art, I just love that pose. Like everyone said, I'm just mirroring what everyone else is saying here. It's just epic. It's so optimistic. It's so like he's looking at some incredible scenery right now. You just know he's on the top of a mountain somewhere and just looking at some incredible scenery. He's getting the bag. It's almost as if he's either setting up for the night or he's just getting up to go off on one. But it feels to me like he's about to put his backpack on and about to, set off.
I don't know, Chris. I think he's seeing something that he doesn't like. He's about to set up, and then, spider sense tingling. He looks back over his shoulder to see, I don't know, what were the kind of the Cobra troop builders of the time, Techno Vipers. Just some bad news being deployed.
He'd be okay if they were Techno
charging
Vipers.
up the mountainside.
Yeah.
Are those kids having a rave?
Oh dear. Well, it was 1987, guys. What else did we have? Raptor, Crocmaster. Maybe it was Crocmaster.
Maybe it's Crocmaster, yeah. But I mean, I'm looking at that art and I just absolutely adore it. I love the fact that they gave him white hair, like as if, right, we're going to give you a different uniform, Outback. Okay, well, I can't really rock ginger hair with this, so I'm gonna have to dye it white. I love that. It's hilarious. With the sneak peek art, I think it's great. I think it's got loads of character. It's got loads of personality pouring out of it. There is that kind of, he looks a bit heavier set. If you go back to the original sneak peek art on the G.I. Joe card, it's slightly different in that he's holding a much smaller version of his periscope in his right arm, and he's got his rifle kind of at hand. But what the Euro Tiger Force card art did was they had to say, okay, well, he can't be holding his gun in a menacing fashion because it came out the year after. I think it was like 90 or 91. So he has to have it shouldered so it can just be in the background, and he'll have him holding a much bigger version of the periscope. And it's almost like Adam has taken the personality of the face from that original sneak peek. It's not the same, but he's kind of gone with that original kind of feel. But he's gone with more of the pose from the Euro Tiger Force art and kind of created almost like a hybrid. And he's also kind of followed what the original toy looked like in a chunky sense. And then the new toy is like this lean kind of tactical guy, which I thought the club made a really cool, just on the side note, made a really cool upgrade to that figure. But for me, it's Outback because it's epic. It's like a lot of art would have fallen by the wayside because it's just so original, different, and interesting.
Well said.
Wow. Okay.
Seems like Outback's on his way through, but Paul, do you want to close this out with some art critique, brother?
I love it. I don't have to work so hard on this one. I'm going to start with Sneak Peek quickly because something that Adam Riches has done exceptionally well in both the original Sneak Peek artwork that he did and the Tiger Force one, aside from the obvious recolor. Firstly, his recolor is not cheap. I know how to do it, and it's a quick job, but he did a good job of it. So that was cool. So points for Adam Riches on that one, definitely, or points for the artwork, should I say. But the original is based on Stephen King's son. And So I don't know if the likeness on the new one is Stephen King's son, as you know, but I mean, for all we know, it could be, but I don't think it is. But there's like a baby face on the original's card art that just stands out quite a bit, and the new one also has like a similar kind of face, and everything that you guys have also mentioned, you know, the attention to detail and whatever in the FSS version, I fully agree with. I think it's a great artwork, but I mean, you can't. I'm sorry, but you can't beat the Tiger Force Outback artwork. Not because I'm like a nostalgia freak or whatever, but this is easily one of my top 10 card arts for G.I. Joe ever. And I mean, I just love that sort of, you know, he's just taken his first in the morning and he's ready for the day. You know, he's ready to go and rock it. And he looks so cool. If I had seen this toy on the shelf as a child, I would have gone with this figure immediately, because I would have looked at the artwork, because a lot of the times the artwork informed you of details you couldn't really see properly. You know, somehow, for some reason, I remember as a kid looking through the blister cards that I just remember that you couldn't really get a full sense of the figure. So you had to look at the artwork. You had to look at the card art and sort of get some like sort of cues from it. Not that I was like purposely going, oh, wow, I must get some visual cues from this artwork before I buy it. I always used to look at it and go, oh, okay, cool. This artwork is so awesome. This toy's got to be cool. You know, aside from the fact that the toy's like right there. But yeah, Tiger Force Outback is a sheer win. The composition is king. His posture is very cool. The fact that you guys have managed to pull out all kinds of images of morning, the sun rising or sun setting, or you know, him seeing a techno viper in the distance, that all shows you that this is a very interesting artwork, that there's a lot going on with this artwork subconsciously for you as a viewer, and it's been very well prompted by its composition and its posture. So kudos to this figure. It deserves to win.
Oh, by the way, one more thing I forgot to mention about the sneak peek artwork. We do know who the face belongs to on Adam Rich's version.
Oh.
So Adam, again, mentioned this in his panel, but one of his long-term friends who actually created a TV show called The Goldbergs, Adam Goldberg, because they're good friends, he said, well, I'm gonna make you an action figure, put you in the card art of an action figure. And he was like, oh, awesome. So he became Sneak Peek for that one. So that's Adam Goldberg, creator of The Goldbergs.
Oh, sweet. Okay, well, there we go. And now we have some celebrity G.I. Joe trivia nods again. So,
and the other half is doing. I'm just going to keep saying that. That's my contribution to this episode. Cool. I think that's a clean sweep for Outback. Did we hear from you, Cooge?
Indeed.
Yes, we did. Outback proceeds to the quarters. Sneak Peek bows out. I guess we can leave him lying in wait to see if she eventually does take that shower. Next up, Bomb Strike versus the Desert Scorpion.
Nice.
Ooh, into the Scorpion.
Who's raring to go?
Well, I always am, but I've already been first, so someone else do it.
I think Cujo needs to go first on this one.
Wow.
Alrighty. Bomb Strike, I guess let's just do color scheme first. It's nice. It's subtle. And I may have to mute myself momentarily, but let's get adventurous. I think her pose draws me in. Kind of looks a little Meg Ryan-ish. I don't know if he was going for that. I do like kind of the angles it creates. Moving over to Desert Scorpion, who, quite honestly, this character has so much play feature in him. The Scorpion looks dangerous. He looks lethal. The card art conveys that. The dude is ripped. He's hard because he's out in the desert. Yeah, I mean, the Desert Scorpion has made such an impression on me that I put him in a certain comic that I'm drawing. So, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the wildlife on this one.
Or the mechanical wildlife. It's an interesting translation, but one that works.
Ooh, what could it be?
What the hell was that oversized scorpion in the first iteration of the Desert Scorpion anyway? Like mutated gigantic scorpion?
I think so. I like it as an animal because it makes you think about what Mindbender might be up to, or something like kind of expanding the insects of Cobra Island, something like that.
Nice. And of course it's 1-to-1 scale, so you could use it to frighten your baby sister.
Nicely done.
I'm gonna balance you with Bomb Strike. It's
Wow.
just so nice to see a new female and presented so well. I quite like her cheeky expression. The face is actually gorgeous, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Scorpion has a gorgeous bicep. I mean, that is a damn fine arm. Skin tone is beautiful, but Bomb Strike's a little bit more beautiful. So that's 1-1. I think I want to hear from. I choose Robert next.
Well, yeah, I think they're both fantastic. Bomb Strike looks very cheeky, and the artwork seems very accurate to the figure as well, which I think is quite cool. And then there's Desert Scorpion, he's ripped, he's fully equipped with, I was about to say jungle, for the desert, and he's rocking an incredible animal companion, which I think is I'm pretty sure I have this version. Well, I have the original version of Desert Scorpion with his original. Wait, do I? Oh, I do. Yes, and then I have this one, this Scorpion who comes from, I think, the in between era, the era that shall not be discussed. Where
His name was Neuroviper?
those weapons. I think it was like a Neuroviper or something.
Neurotoxin.
Neurotoxin, yeah, because then also the claws or whatever can come off. And Desert Scorpion can double fist his enemies, which I think is pretty awesome. And there's just so much details. More so, I think, in Desert Scorpion compared to Bomb Strike. I mean, they just picked out everything from the grenades to the way that the ribbing of his boots to the kind of knife. Just everything is just all there, and he just like double fisting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give it to Desert Scorpion. I like the action that he's bringing.
Chris, what say you, brother?
Well, there's a few things on this one. So, again, Adam's done both of these art pieces. If you look back at the old Desert Scorpion card art, it's a similar kind of pose. I mean, the dude's ripped again. But what obviously Adam has been tasked in this particular situation to do, like, copy the toy as much as possible. What I think happens there is if you look at the vintage toy and the vintage artwork compared to the new one is effectively a Snake Eyes face, right? So you've got this like very Snake Eyes looking thing. And once I realized that it was the Snake Eyes mask, I looked at that artwork and couldn't see anything other than Snake Eyes in the desert with like a cool nude getup, which is a really cool thing to think about. But it took me away from Desert Scorpion a little bit. The original that I know and really, really loved that as an original character figure, artwork, etc. Not to obviously diss Adam on his work here. I mean, like you say, it's a gorgeous piece of work, really detailed and, perfectly kind of proportioned, and you see all of that beautiful kind of lines and everything. So there's a lot going on there. I may have just gone a little bit hardcore for a male figure there, but whatever. On the other side of things,
we all have, dude. We're all admiring that bicep.
I mean, it's a beauty, isn't it? It's gorge. But on the other side of things, I absolutely adore that Bomb Strike art, and there's a couple of reasons. Again, these shouldn't cloud my judgment on the actual art that we're looking at as a piece of art. But obviously, my wife did a Bomb Strike cosplay because people kept telling her, "What did Adam copy your face for Bomb Strike?" And I was like,
ask.
He didn't. So this was before he met Kate. So
to the best of your knowledge.
To the best of my knowledge, I don't think he was creeping at that point. But he said it's like a mixture of lots of different faces that he's kind of like, basically it's an original piece. It just happens to look like. Now, this is the funny thing. You said Meg Ryan, and we've always said to Kate in the family and everything that she looks like Meg Ryan. Her whole family have said it as she's grown up. Like, she looks like Meg Ryan, circa the early 90s, and the 80s, not like the the current Meg Ryan.
Circa that scene.
Indeed.
At the diner.
Exactly.
At the table.
Exactly.
Not the lizard replacement Meg Ryan of today.
No. Not lizard scorpion Meg Ryan. So I think that yes, it is probably, jumping in there and shouldn't be part of my decision making. But when I look at the two pieces of art, I also have to think of the vintage aspect, and because Bombardier, now that was a Freudian slip, because Bomb Strike had that kind of different iteration, different card art, like more cartoony card art, back in like what was it, the era you should not be named, you said, Rob?
The big shoulders era.
Yeah,
no,
so
we don't mean the 80s.
Yeah, but like I think
New sculpt era.
The new sculpt era, absolutely. Voldemort era. I think that I just think I take those into consideration with this too, even though I still feel like Bomb Strike is standing out to me. So I'm going to say Bomb Strike. I just wanted to pad it out with some crap that you didn't need.
Nice. Woohoo. All right, we're split
Okay,
again.
comes down to Paul, it sounds.
Outstanding.
Dun dun dun. Okay, so Bomb Strike is a fantastic artwork. It's actually, like what Steve said, it's refreshing to see a new female face in the Joe line, especially. She's technically not a new face, but she is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's very, very, very well done. Like, she's exceptionally well done. I think every detail here is well handled. I especially love the pose. It's sexy without being over-sexualized,
Sure.
which is a very good thing, and it's very smart. So kudos to Adam there. Although that desert viper or that desert scorpion, well, I like this artwork purely because in a lot of ways it's an improvement over the original. Yes, I said that. Because the originals, a lot of the vintage artwork isn't all gold. I mean, if you actually look at his legs in the original, they're not right.
Yeah.
There's just something funny going on there. He's very stiff. He's got a very stiff pose, and I think the new one he just looks good. Like, he looks great. I think at one point they had a different weapon and maybe he had to change the gun there because it feels like his stance is designed to hold something else. But anyway, that's a small critique. It's weird. Technically, Bomb Strike is a much better artwork, but I prefer the Desert Scorpion. And yes, I can now see the Snake Eyes face. Thank you. I didn't see it before. But this is also one of those rare cases where the FSS figure, is essentially a Frank and Joe. And there was no way they were going to retool this Desert Scorpion to look like its vintage counterpart. And I am a big fan of the actual vintage toy. And I think a lot of the nods and whatever, a lot of the design decisions that were made in that figure translated very well in the artwork, or at least Adam took them and ran with them and made them very, very visually appealing, whereas they could have actually been very sort of obvious and awkward looking. I mean, I'm only now noticing Snake Eyes' bandolier, for example. Like, had it been given to me, I would have had a huge fight with myself and actually try to paint it out to be something completely different. So it's weird, but it technically should be the better art. I mean, Bomb Strike should be the better artwork, but Desert Scorpion gets it for me. I especially love his little metal scorpion. It's very metal. So there you have it. Paul likes Desert Scorpion artwork.
Incredible. Desert Scorpion scrubs out our only female to date. Oh dear.
So far. Yeah.
Well,
but don't worry.
You thought you thought Skullbuster was female. And Interrogator and Iron Claw and
Woman on the mind. Girls.
And White Scope.
But
Just shows that we
have
need more
a
female
confirmed
characters.
female, at
Yeah,
least
for the
as
next
far
one
as
we have a
Falcon's
confirmed
concerned.
female in Tiger Force Shipwreck.
Well, Rob, I want you to start this one out. Our next round is Jinx, or Kim Arashikage, pardon, versus Tiger Force Shipwreck.
Oh,
Yeah, this is insane.
cool. Gonna get real now. That's all I'm saying. So,
I already know which one Paul's going to go with.
Does that color your decision, Robbie?
Yeah, I have to be contrary and go for the one that I think he's not going to go for. No, I think they're both really good artworks. I mean, the Shipwreck is a reuse, once again, of a vintage artwork, correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool. And then the Jinx is a completely brand new artwork. It looks very lively, it looks very sexy. I mean, she's fully equipped with all of her weapons. And she's got like a smirk on her face, which I kind of like, hey, come for me, I'm gonna take you out. Whoa. And I'm not even gonna see what you're doing, so I can kill you blindfolded. While Shipwreck and Polly is very aghast at what he's trying to do with that anchor. Like, wow, what are you gonna do with that? Shut up, you stupid bird! I'm gonna shove it up there. Like, proportionally, I think they're both very good. If I had to get technical, I think the yeah, like they're both very well equipped. But I really like the kind of modern look of Jinx. I mean, Jinx always was a cool figure. I think they're the vintage, but she didn't have like kind of like her own look. She was very much just like a female, red ninja.
Yeah.
Well, this outfit looks very unique, looks very her, and I'd love to take that figure out on an adventure. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Jinx.
Can I just make one point that you made there, Rob, when you said that this is completely original? It's actually based, at least minimally, on a cancelled artwork that was going to be City Strike Scarlet. So it's the same pose, more or less the same, because obviously they used her body for this Jinx figure. So it was like this was like the getting the cancelled figure back out to the fans. And there is artwork which I'll flash up on the video for you guys. Oh, sorry, which Joburg will flash up on the video that is basically. You can kind of see it really in Jinx's face. It's Rachel Nichols from the film.
Yeah,
the film that will not be named.
Yeah, kind of pointed that out.
Yeah, it's in that category.
Oh, jeez. Well,
either way, it's
fantastic.
a very cheeky face. I do like that expression. That alone will swing it for me.
Ooh, Steven just can't help a pretty face.
Well, it's key to getting a really cool artwork. I mean, she looks competent and deadly, and surprise, surprise, the mask is an addition. I mean, there's an unmasked image that you find on her figure portrait on the card back, on the file card, if I'm correct. And so it's evident to me that the mask was an addition, but it blends seamlessly. Like, it works. It doesn't jar the image, and you can see her basically quoting her famous line about the keenest eye.
Which looks inwards.
Thank you, Paul. Nice. You totally Zaymotted that.
Treachery! They're attacking us from behind.
Full force. Yeah, that's got it for me. And I mean, the only detractor that I can play the Tiger Force sailor against is his gun. To be wielding an M16 one-handed. I know, once again, it's got nothing to do with the artist. He's doing absolutely the best job he can at sort of selling that he's holding that rather heavy, awkward gun.
His gun looks fat, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's where I was going, man.
Sorry.
The one that was included is the more slender, sort of early M16 variation, with the smaller box magazine. The one that finds its way into the artwork has that additional barrel shroud with the vents. And yeah, it does kind of pull me out, unfortunately. I wish the figure came with the sort of the blunderbuss. Oh yeah, a more authentic shipwreck weapon, because that's what that pose is designed to hold. A smaller, leaner weapon. Okay, it could be like really mongrel looking like a blunderbuss, but or flintlock. Sorry, it is a flintlock, isn't it?
Yes.
Whatever.
Yes.
His
like
original pistol.
It's a pirate pistol, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So you get rid of that and you throw in an M16. And all of a sudden, things make less sense. And I know my man Paul is going to back me up and yet still champion the Tiger Force artwork because he loves it so much. It was a very treasured gift from a very dear friend. The only figure subscription service figure that G.I. Joburg possessed for a long time.
Yeah, I think still possesses. I don't know. I don't have any other FSS stuff.
Rob's got Scoop now.
I got Scoop.
Oh, yes, that's right. Sorry, I keep forgetting Scoopers and FSS. That's Scoop. Mm-hmm. I take it that's a segue to Paul talking about the card art.
Very good.
Doing.
Outback.
Okay. Zaymot.
Thank you. So, over to you, Paul.
So I remember this Jinx and the Shipwreck because these were amongst the first figures that were sort of revealed with FSS. And I was still in a position where I could buy them, or at least think about buying them, because some of them were available on BBTS. And I love my Tiger Force Shipwreck. He is like, the toy is amazing. And I really do enjoy the artwork as well. And had he not been up against Jinx, perhaps he would have gotten it today. But I really love that Jinx artwork. Like, I am super hot for that Jinx artwork. It's actually part of the thing that sells that toy to me. Because when I saw the artwork for it, I was like, oh my word, I hope the toy looks as good as that. And then I saw the toy and I was like, they're amazing, because I'm also a big fan of Jinx. I think Jinx is a very cool character and is kind of underutilized in a lot of ways. Maybe she's used better now in the comic book. But I was like, wow, that's going to be my sort of de facto Jinx. Because I had missed out on the SDCC, or let me get my chronology right here. I can't remember if the SDCC Jinx had been announced yet, or if I'd missed out on her. But either way, I was like, this is the Jinx, to rule them all. So yes, the Shipwreck artwork is actually very cool. I hear what you guys are saying about the gun. It has never really bugged my eye. Personally, I do think the Blunderbuss is the better looking gun, but they once again had to sell what was different about this toy. And aside from the Tiger Force deco, they had to show that it came with something else. I mean, technically, this is meant to be Marujo and not really Tiger Force Shipwreck, but it's Tiger Force Shipwreck anyway, for starters. And yeah, I get it, and it's cool, but if this artwork is against anything else, I may have gone more with the Shipwreck, but it's against Jinx, and this Jinx is fantastic, dude. I'm sure anybody that looks at this artwork will probably agree with me and say that Jinx is the winner. You guys have said it. I mean, she's got this great cheeky look on her face. She's got that smirk. She's in control. She's going to dominate. And also, once again, extremely sexy for not being oversexed, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not dirty. It's sexy. Cool. Anyway, yeah.
Chris and Cooge, have either of you guys got a spanner to throw in Jinx's works?
I don't love those weapons. I mean, if I had the figure, what are you going to do? Like chop up a salad? I just don't know how lethal those things look for me. But
lethally delicious.
Thank you, brother. I'm going to go with Shipwreck. Just because I'd probably play with him more, and the card art still works for me. The M60 is overkill. I mean, poly on your shoulder should be enough. And you got those hooks or whatever those things are flying at you. So it still works. I'll go with Shipwreck.
Right. Boom. Okay. So I haven't really come to a conclusion because both things are doing my head in, right? Jinx is gorgeous. It's amazing card art. And I like the fact that because they were using the cancelled Jinx, figure, cancelled City Strike Scarlet figure. That I like the fact that they went and said, well, let's rejig the artwork a little bit. But what I think they should have done is they shouldn't have used Rachel Nichols' likeness, which I know it's covered for the most part. But I just think that it's Jinx. It's not Scarlet from Rise of Cobra. This is Jinx. And I'm just it just bugs me that they didn't do something else with that particular face. And I'm guessing there was an element of, maybe time constraint or something. But if you look at the City Strike Scarlet, she's got like it's like a lamprey helmet on. Like you can't see her face clearly anyway. So it's funny to me that they went out all the way and utilized what is effectively her cheekbones and lower mouth and then, the top of her head kind of thing. So I think that's kind of weird. But in terms of the actual artwork, it's gorgeous. I think Jinx completely trumps Shipwreck. But I love Shipwreck for the nostalgia, but for the same reasons that you guys are saying, the gun, if that's a shorter gun, it works better on the card for a start. Because if you look at it actually on card, that gun disappears behind a bit of the bubble and a bit of the text. And you end up, it almost looks a bit bent and out of shape. And that's kind of not what if you're using a rifle, you want that in clear view so that you get that nice the nice lines going on there. And I kind of feel that's broken up a little bit on the card itself. I'm just talking from a technical aspect there. We're looking at it with the figure on the card.
I'm starting to think that there is a sort of maximum angle that artists are encouraged to stay within.
Yeah.
Like the gun cannot point to the viewer within a certain number of degrees, so it always has to deflect away by like quite a wide margin.
That makes a lot of sense.
I'd be interested to ask Adam if he if that is indeed a valid constraint.
Like it can't be looking down the barrel effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and in fact, it can't even be slightly looking down the barrel. But then again, wide scope kind of dances around that. You can actually see the back end of the barrel on wide scopes card art.
What I would add to that is just that when you have something like a gun pointed at a viewer, and it's not like, this is not some kind of weird PC or sort of social ethics thing, with regards to packaging artwork thing, okay?
Yeah.
It's just that the silhouette doesn't read that well.
No.
It's very difficult to to have something pointing a gun at you and then still maintaining a very cool silhouette. And the thing is, it's even more difficult to do that and not ape a popular artwork that has done that before. So in other words, it's very difficult to do something cooler than what guys like Jim Lee have done. And it's very difficult to do that and sort of beat Frank Miller, because Frank Miller's foreshortening in Sin City is fantastic in a lot of ways. Like it's really dynamic. Like he nails it. And Jim Lee,
closer to home, Mike Zeck on like a roadblock image.
There you go, right?
The famous roadblock, pointing the gun at the camera.
Yeah, there you go. And it's a difficult thing to pull off artistically and still make it look attractive, because the problem is, as soon as that's even a little bit wrong, the human eye will see that. The subconscious will perceive it as being very off, and then the whole figure, everything relating to the figure gets muddied. So I think that's why, I don't know if it's like an actual condition that's given to the artist, but I know for myself, even when I've done our card art, I'm like, wow, I don't want a gun pointing towards a viewer at all. Yeah. Because it's just so difficult to do.
Well, Adam mentioned something to me when in the process, that he would do a number of different poses, like sketch them out, like sketch a ton of different kind of like positions and poses. Thumbnails, send them off to the club then come back and say, we kind of like this one, but can you do this and this to it? And then he does another kind of mock-up sketch to get the right angles and everything, and sends that off. Then it comes back. So there's a lot of it's not one of those things where they're saying, these are certain tick list rules that we can't do. If you can do something and get it to work, great. But like you said, it's really difficult. If you're looking down the barrel of a gun, you don't see the gun. You just see the end of the barrel, and you see the you see the barrel getting slowly like further into the distance, and then maybe a bit of square element around that shape, but you don't see the gun. And I think that's what they want to do. They want to show these things off, and there's a beauty of we're talking about like the cards getting kind of like in the way of the artwork. There's a beautiful story of where Adam had to do crosshair for the club, and they wanted him kneeling down and in a sniper, with the gun up, in like sniper prone position. And he says, do you know how difficult that is to get in that tiny space? Like, no matter what you do to the proportions of that to get it in that space, it would just, either he's getting smaller and smaller, or he's getting thinner and thinner. So, you're just not really sure how to do it. So what he did was he had the gun going into that gap above the figure, but like it almost filled, like the rifle goes right across the top of the figure in that space, that little space. And he managed to kind of work out the proportions to make sense. And it's actually a really good pose. Unfortunately, because of the way he had to get the arms in position, he had to have him firing left-handed. And someone, I think, pointed out he's right-handed, and Adam was just like, "Come on, dude, give me a break," which I thought was quite cute.
Seriously. Can we move the bubble to the other side of the card, please? Thank you.
But to give you my answer, it's going to have to be Jinx. Despite my annoyance with the face, the Shipwreck art is great, but it's just it's a rehash of the original. They don't improve on it by adding that rifle in an awkward position. So that's what I'm going with, and that's what I'm sticking with.
Nice. Jinx proceeds. Next round. Alpine versus Slice. Paul, what say you, brother?
Oh, Alpine. Okay, so let me just hit the Google later. I just want to just make sure on Alpine's card art.
Oh, it's so good.
Jeez, now I'm being egged on by my fellow.
Oh, sorry. Ignore that. That was not bias. That's not me trying to swing the vote.
No, it's all good. I mean, I know what the Slice card looks like because I wanted it in here. Okay, so this is embarrassing. That Alpine card is really good. That's a really good artwork. Everything about it, it's like Alpine's doing what Alpine does. He's hanging around and shooting at something. It's cool. I mean, there are technical
Precisely
issues.
what Alpine does best.
Yeah, it's like there's cool stuff. I mean, there's some technical issues here and there, but like whatever, it doesn't matter because here the dynamism of it pushes it through and it makes it look really good and it makes Alpine look awesome. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say the artwork makes the toy look good because I personally don't like this version of the toy. But I think
want the figure to have that head sculpt. I want
Yes.
it to have the artwork's like intensity.
yes, that's like
I almost
go to
don't want to
work.
see the figure's eyes. I want to just see that like furled brow, that bad mother sort of expression
Okay.
on his mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, it's brilliant.
I love it. He's like, "Odely, odely, another dead cobra," you know. But I love that artwork. It's really cool, and I don't know why I didn't see it before. Because had I seen it before, I would have voted that in long before voting in Slice. I was just gonna go with Slice because it's basically the original artwork, and the original artwork was very, very cool. And I love that like pose. And he's called Slice, and he's kicking at you. I thought that was quite cute and complements the toy. It's like they didn't have to change anything on it, and it was a winner. But Alpine's gonna get it from me. Like hey, wait, hold on. Alpine gets my vote.
Oh yeah.
Anyone want to take a swing at Alpine and champion Slice? So I take it
Apparently
Alpine makes it
Alpine
through.
wins it.
Damn, that was an easy round.
I have to say that the Slice one though, I do love that card. I think it's brilliant. But that Alpine it's so interesting and it's so original and it's like what you knew back in the 80s when you saw a G.I. Joe character on a card art. It wasn't just the same position every single time. It was something interesting, like highlighting the specialty. And in that case, that's exactly what's happening here with Alpine. And I mean, there's so much going on there. And that's, again, it's another Adam Riches one. And I have to say that, yeah, it wins it for the same reasons.
I think the Alpine art demonstrates the importance of how to do seat knots. That'll be important in the future. But I definitely think that the Slice art ain't great. I'm just joking. But there are very few card arts that...
It is a lot of grundle going on there, isn't there?
There is. And I appreciate it just for that. Doesn't he have socks on? So that's a good look. That's it. I'll roll with Slice on this one.
In fact, they're both very grundle heavy. These two pieces of card art. There's a lot of underbelly going on, isn't there?
There is.
Both
There
leaning
is.
away.
Being pushed forward there. Yeah.
We should have a taint off or something. Just card arts where... Okay, enough.
There are enough of them. So when we do G.I. Joe After Dark, when we really get, adult,
Nice.
we could do that card art battle. I also give it to Alpine. Slice is awesome, but he was one of the ones where I was like, the focal point. What is the focal point on his shot?
His twig and berries, surely.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of where your eye goes straight away, and then he's kind of hiding his face. He's about to, swing at you. That's what it is. I mean, and it's. Yeah, well, Alpine, he looks freaking amazing. I mean, my only issue with Alpine is just the way he's holding the gun. It looks a bit awkward. But other than that, I think it's a brilliant artwork.
Yeah, that gun would be flying all over the place, wouldn't it? You'd be smacking him in the face. And
Guys, speaking beyond my ken, as I'm typical to do, I'm not sure a climbing harness functions like that.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I've been
looks like
abseiling
it's
a handful of times, and the rope that you descend on passes through the front carabiner and round
Yeah, no, it does.
the back.
He's not going anywhere. He's literally just hanging somewhere.
He's literally
and shooting.
dangling off the end of his rope. He's not in motion.
This is the restriction of using just like you're only being able to use the toy and what comes with the toy as part of the because they can't do something that it doesn't do, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Like there was a couple of times in some of the vintage line where you'd have a feature on the card art that it didn't actually do, and they would get in trouble for that. One, like, silly things like not being able to put like the Hydro Viper's knife on his thigh or Oh no, there was harpoon on his thigh. There was a ton of those little things, bits and pieces. But like, I think that they have to in this situation. Yeah, they have to kind of adhere to what the toy does. But I know what you mean. Like, that would just he would be in that situation. I almost said scenario. He would be like almost horizontal, wouldn't he, or upside down?
Or in the current iteration of the art, the arm would kind of disappear behind his back, or out to the side, which would also effectively cut it off by the bubble of the figure. It's just it in climbing terms, and once again I plead ignorance. I'm not the most avid climber, but it does seem like he's kind of got nowhere to go. He's literally a meat dangling at the end of his rope.
Well, he dropped down there to be able to shoot at these guys. And when he's done, he'll kind of pull himself back up. I think it works.
Or
Anyway, that's Alpine.
Well, it's irrelevant because guess what? Alpine takes it clean sweep.
Oof.
Our final
not clean sweep.
qualifier.
We should have clean sweep in here at some point so that you can use clean sweep in 2 different ways.
Nice. Why didn't we use the sort of
convention
exclusive?
That's a different
artworks
episode.
as well?
That's a different episode.
Oh,
Definitely.
That's a different episode. Yeah, that's totally separate. There's
It's the
FSS
British
part
invasion.
1,
He
FSS
comes
part
on
2,
our
and then
podcast and he's
Con
calling the
Exclusives
shots.
is another.
Redcoats are coming. My goodness. Okay, final round for the qualifiers. Hit and Run versus Cesspool. Everybody says Cesspool? Great. Cesspool goes for
How'd you know?
Because Hit and
Because he's
Run was a
double
lucky
fisting it,
loser.
that's why.
He's here on the grace of only a few people's considerations. But yeah, Cesspool is a top-seeded artwork. But if anyone has anything they'd like to say at this point, the microphone is yours.
I wonder, who did Adam Riches base who did he base Cesspool's face on? Because I know the original face was based off some Hasbro exec, and that guy is like super crazy looking. And Adam Riches' one is actually a little different, and that guy's also super crazy looking. So I wonder if that's just his approximation of that face, or if that's like, somebody else. Because if you know somebody that looks like that, you probably should stop knowing that person. Because that guy's
there can't be that many people with that kind of scar on their face in the world. So I think it's probably the same guy.
I'm pretty sure. Nice one, Rob. I'm pretty
It's main man Hasbro dude. What's his name?
Mr. Hasbro.
I thought that was Vinny
okay.
D'Oliva, but I could be wrong. He was like one of the head marketing dudes at the time. I could be wrong about that, and correct me if I am
He looks
wrong.
like a marketing dude.
That
It is
would
like-
be his file name, Cesspool's file name. Perhaps the face is based on him as well.
Ah, then yeah, because I'm pretty sure that he was also going to be Cesspool in the commercials, and he was all dressed up to do the live action commercial, because this was at HasCon when we attended the Legends panel, and he said that they were all ready to kind of go, and then something happened and they just had to stop production on it. And he was like this close to being Cesspool. I think he even got like a few shots in of him dressed up as Cesspool, if I remember rightly.
Cool.
But it's really funny.
Absolute gold. A live action Cesspool.
Oh, yeah,
Please.
totally.
Can that emerge from a vault somewhere?
I'm sure. Well, just give it a couple of weeks. I'm sure 3D Joe's Carson will him and
Yeah,
Kurt
just give
Bazzigian
Carson
will
a
pull.
chance.
Yeah, give him 5 weeks. I'm sure he'll pull something out. But no, I think that is the case. I think the head sculpt was by Dave Proctor of Boss Fight Studio now for the toy, and it is one of the most incredible head sculpts of like the G.I. Joe toy line. It is just
pretty
incredible.
agreed.
And I think Adam just based a lot of that on the head sculpt. It's that good.
Yeah, because that can happen. I mean, that's pretty much what I ended up doing for the figures, the card art that I did for Jim's Customs.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at the rock and roll head that he gave us, not the rock and roll head on the internet. The only one that I actually referenced was Snake Plissken.
Yeah.
Just because, but sometimes a head sculpt can be so good that you can just do that. And then you hear of stories of them using like Christian Bale's head sculpts from Hot Toys as part of a sort of a feature reel. Like some magazine is like, oh, there's a new Batman coming out, and then the picture they use of Christian Bale is actually of his figure, and then they're like, oh crap, because then a whole bunch of people tell them, and then they're like, "Oh, really? Wow."
Yeah.
You know, so it can happen.
Does
That's pretty
anyone
cool.
have anything nice to say about Hit and Run before he hits and runs into oblivion?
I mean, like the original art was gorgeous. The Euro Tiger Force art was gorgeous. I'm a big fan of it. I just think that in this particular case, you know, you're going up against Cesspool. It's like there's so much going on in that, and it's so beautifully executed.
He's got
I
so
think a
much
lot of-
juice.
There you go. I think a lot of people might appreciate that you see Hit and Run's face non-greened, but I'm not one of those people. I like Hit and Run having a green face. But then the original is also ungreened. So, yeah. So it's weird. I don't know. Yeah, Cesspool all the way. There's nothing wrong with the Hit and Run artwork. It's just not as incredibly as exciting as, say, the Alpine or Cesspool artworks, for me personally.
Could you had a few words you wanted to share, man?
No, I'll save all that for the next round when we see Cesspool.
Well, I think we're going to hold back on the talking for the quarterfinals because I decree that the quarterfinals be a lightning round. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh my
Was
goodness.
that a lightning sound effect you did, or did you just creak a chair? When you said lightning
I'll keep
round,
you guessing, Christopher.
honestly, it sounded like you had some sort of machine there with that had like a tiny lightning effect.
Or could it have been a team member who had my back? Zaymot, you out there?
Don't worry, brother. I just moved my chair.
Well, if it's not one thing, it's the other. It's either a cricket, a motorbike, or a creaky chair.
Or a cricket
Paul is
on a
our sound
motorbike.
effects man.
If you have an orgasm, does Paul feel it as well? Is that how it works?
I wish.
Oh, that'd be
Could you
telling a
imagine
lot.
that someone you'd know someone was or having sex because you'd just be like, you'd be at work one day just kind of going, oh. Anyway, carry on. Next.
Considering I'm
Yes,
visiting
my
my
pants.
fiance, that'd be rather cruel on my twin brother. You know, you're rather distracting, and at weird times of the day because of the time zone.
Oh my god, just waking up
But
in the middle of the
anyways.
night. Sorry.
Okay, so lightning round.
Thank you, Robert. Quarterfinal round number 1,
Lightning round.
lightning round. Thank you. Interrogator versus Big Bear. Chris,
Interrogator.
Cujo,
Interrogator.
Paul.
What do you think this is? G.I. Rush in Joburg? No, I say Interrogator.
Robert.
Big Bear.
Ooh. I'm gonna go Big Bear just to be a troll, but Interrogator moves through to the semifinals.
Ooh,
Surprise!
semi.
Surprise!
He's got a semi.
He's got a semi.
Quarterfinal number 2, Bombardier versus Tiger Force Outback.
Correct.
Tough. Cujo,
One dude's kneeling, the other dude's standing up. Gotta send Outback to the next round.
Paul,
Tiger Force Outback, baby.
Rob.
Outback.
Ooh. I've got to go with Outback as well.
Ooh.
Sorry, Chris.
I'm going to go with Outback.
Okay, Outback, clean sweep.
Because it's just the most epic art ever. Spoiler alert.
It's
Yeah.
so cool, yeah. And we have to buy that toy now before this episode makes it shoot through the roof,
I have it.
and
so
B, before
Oh, it's already there, dude.
Oopsie.
$2,000 at the moment. Anyway.
Quarterfinal number 3,
Sorry.
Desert Scorpion. Desert Scorpion versus Jinx. Paul,
Jinx.
Rob.
Desert Scorpion.
I'm gonna go Jinx. Chris,
Oh, f***'s sake. I'm going to go... Lightning round. I'm going to go... Desert Jinx. No. Scorpionx. No. I don't know. They're too closely... Desert Scorpion. No. Jinx. Definitely Jinx.
so that's...
Well,
oh, man.
you're about to get stung because Desert Scorpion moves on.
Nice one. Thank you, Cooge.
Does he? Sorry, I lost count.
No, Jinx moves on because Chris took so long. He defaulted to the beautiful woman. So it's 3 for beautiful woman. Me and Cujo being the animal
Same.
companion, animal rights activists. Actually, apparently no one cares about animals up in here. Only about women.
Oh, so did Jinx go through?
Jinx
Yes.
definitely made it through. Thanks to you.
They're both dangerous, Rob.
Okay.
Final
this is an interesting
quarterfinal
one.
lightning round. is Alpine versus Cesspool. And Rob, you kick this one off.
Ooh, Cesspool.
I'm gonna go Alpine. Chris?
This should have been the final for me, and I said it would have been close. I'm gonna go with Cesspool.
Cujo?
Cesspool's got too much juice.
Okay.
3-1.
That
Three
means
for
I'm picking
Cesspool.
him.
Paul, what would you have voted for, man?
Cesspool, dude.
Ooh, okay.
Only
Sorry,
Steven.
Alpine.
Loving it. It's the inaccuracies of Alpine. That's what kind of, when you pointed that out to me, like, oof, he wouldn't really be hanging like that.
Whereas Cesspool,
water-
yeah.
Hadn't have pointed that out, you
Cesspool
would've gone
is
through.
wielding a super
Sorry,
soaker,
Steve.
so maybe you need to throw a little bit of salt in that argument.
Yeah, the reality argument doesn't work whenever you talk about G.I. Joe, let's face it.
And nor should it. It should never work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although, incidentally,
All right, gentlemen.
the only thing that can make the Cesspool artwork cooler is a chainsaw. Seriously.
Cutting into his face,
No
Scar.
clowning. What are you doing?
All right, gentlemen, we've come down to our semi-finalists.
We've all got semis.
Ooh. 4 card arts remain. In the first matchup, we have Interrogator versus Tiger Force Outback. Tiger Force Outback.
Whoa, is that you voting, Steven?
That's my first blood. As good as Interrogator is, and as cool as it is that we're finally getting a dedicated card art for this awesome and underrated character, I don't know. What can I add to what has already been said?
Lightning round.
Outback, Tiger Force Outback is perhaps the
Lightning
best card
strikes
art
twice.
ever.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Jeez, we have
Or
to
you want to
do
back
it.
me up?
I've got to back you up on this because it's
Yo.
the truth. Like, Interrogator badly needs a card art, and he badly needs his own card, to be honest. He needed to be a single card release figure anyway. But yeah, man, that Tiger Force Outback is just the shit. And I mean, I just hate this because every time I open my mouth and say how awesome it is, I just feel the price of it going up on eBay. Just every time. Ching, ching, ching. But at least Interrogator's cheaper now. At least for now.
Well, is it better though? Because I mean, at least in the case of Interrogator, it's a complete artwork that's been built and made for that figure specifically. While with Outback, they've had to adapt that. I mean, that's probably why Hit and Run went out so quickly. It looked like the gun he was holding was like added in Photoshop later. I mean, they make it so obvious with that white outline. It's a lot more noticeable in the Hit and Run artwork, but on the Outback one, it's not as noticeable. But knowing that isn't necessarily, that they incorporated fairly well, I think. It's not perfect. I mean, if you look at his left hand, he's not really holding it. It's more like he's got like a fist and he's kind of just resting it on the backpack. Like, how is he actually holding that up? I don't know. I'm just throwing some thoughts out there.
No,
Good point. Definitely good point. Totally good point. I agree. I think the white outline is one of those kind of annoying things. It's been used throughout G.I. Joe lore and in artwork anyway. Like, you go back to some of the vintage stuff, you'll see that white outline utilized a little bit. And it got to the point where they kept saying, right, we don't want that white outline anymore. And to the artist, again, this was in that Legends panel at HouseCon as well, and they were saying that, we kind of need to do away with that a little bit if you can kind of minimize the amount of that white outline kind of stuff. And I feel like it works to a certain degree with some elements of the art, but when you do it around the entire backpack, it's almost like it just looks like it's been stuck on there. But again, I still think that art is amazing. Like, you even with that, with it, I look at it and I just go, yeah, that is. I just fall into it. I'm there. I'm in the wilderness with Outback. I'm telling him, will you hurry up and get your backpack on? We've got 10 more miles to walk. And he's just looking off in the distance, having a I don't know. But no, I really like that.
Well, he is old, okay? He's easily distracted. I mean, he basically went grey over the course of 3 years.
If he's got to utilize that at that age. But yeah, anyway.
I don't know.
I think tiger blood.
I think they put the backpack here because his manliness would have just intimidated people, and then he would have just become a peg warmer. So they put the backpack intentionally. I mean, I'm looking at the original artwork, which has got like some fluffy clouds painted in the background, and it's got a bit of a,
mountain.
And I'm
range.
like, and then I'm looking at the original Tiger Force one, which has got a very different contrast level, but also you know, this one's just more Tiger Force lightning around it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is one of the few times where the original is just so good that it just comes through, irrespective of the backpack.
Big time.
Yeah, so Tiger Force Outback is going to get mine as well. As much as I love Interrogator, as much as I love that.
I'm not sure I recorded your vote, Rob. Which way did you fall on the argument, Robert?
Oh, well, I actually hadn't voted yet. I was just trying to throw, a spanner in the works there. My choice is actually Outback as well. I really think it's a
tiger in the
artwork.
tank.
Yeah, we need to get one of those out there. It's the closest thing we have to an animal companion going forward, so...
An animal man-panion.
Exactly.
An old, angry man.
A companion.
Companion.
Okay, Cujo, Chris, is it going the way of the tiger?
I've already done mine.
He's already chosen Outback.
I think
Cujo, is it going the way of the tiger?
I think ironically, the Interrogator is going to leave this one without a word. He's done.
Wow. He's out of it. He was
You're out.
I will give props to Adam for fitting the Interrogator so squarely on the card in spite of the bubble alongside. And 25th or modern era bubbles are swollen compared to the vintage bubbles. And yet, the character fits and doesn't look impoverished because of it, if I'm making any sense. So it is a very successful artwork, but man, it's almost a cheat to let Tiger Force Outback proceed because, it's just one of those Hall of Famers almost.
No, it's an artwork that they chose to use, and we're judging it in comparison to the other ones that are being presented to us. I don't think it's cheating at all.
All right. What would the outcome between Jinx and Cesspool be? And given the both the origin stories of these artworks, it's an interesting clash of eras and styles.
I was going to say that in this particular battle, I'm just to make things a lot quicker, I'm going to say Cesspool because of the issue I have with them using City Strike Scarlet, Rachel Nichols' likeness, and then they could have gone with the Jinx likeness, or they could have done something different, and that's why I love Cesspool, so he's going through for me.
What is a Jinx likeness anyway? She's masked in her original figure, so I don't even know what she's supposed to look like.
Sunbow,
of course, there is the animated.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sunbow in the Marvel Comics, they gave her some really good looks in there.
I only think about action.
I looked
figures
twice.
when I think about G.I. Joe. I'm going to go with Jinx.
Wow.
Yep.
Steven.
Yep. I do like this artwork, and I do like the fact that there is a masked and unmasked version present on the card. You get 2 flavors of Jinx on one card.
That's fantastic.
The price of one. Yeah. Oh, this is
That's
a different
like 2 dumplings,
anyway.
man. That's like pork and shrimp.
Yeah, one could kill you.
Well, let me hose you down with some more Cesspool. He's just too damn crazy, guys. You can't give a blindfolded person a pass when you got those 2 eyeballs looking at you.
He's just so dynamic, on that card art. Like, you can just feel the insanity of the character, and they really do incorporate basically all of his accessories except maybe the briefcase.
And it
and
unsettles you because
but
a dude his age shouldn't be that flexible.
And he's shooting like goo at you. I mean, that's got to like put you on edge. You're like, wait a minute, he's not shooting bullets. He's trying to wet me. What's up with that?
The card arts with goo on them.
Super Soaker.
You can count those on one hand.
Nod.
Well, yeah, that's my vote. Actually, I'm also a Cesspool man.
Ooh. I'm in a very difficult position now because I love these artworks equally. It's kind of like I'd love to bring the toy
there's one decision here to make. Paul, there's one decision. Do you want to be on the losing team with Steven, or do you want to be in the winning team with the rest of us?
Is it going to be a Blue Rinse Brigade in the final? I mean, these 2 white-haired gentlemen.
Well, actually it is, because 3 of us have already said Cesspool, so Paul's vote it doesn't matter.
It's moot. In this case, I'm actually gonna say Jinx, and it's just because Jinx. But it's got a lot to do with the fact that and this shouldn't affect it. But the original figure has a sort of a metal arm or a robotic arm or an armored arm, whatever, and it has this really awesome Cobra sigil on its chest. Now that is something they couldn't do on the new figure, and I get that. But if it had that, it would have given that artwork just that little bit of extra pop that it definitely needed.
And a chainsaw.
And the chainsaw,
Of
you know,
course.
which I have mentioned before. And once again, the toy on this packaging looks incomplete because the mask doesn't have the little rebreather in the front. So, no, I mean, I'm just being facetious now. But it's going to be Jinx. I mean, this artwork of Jinx colored my visual of how Jinx should look. It's changed Jinx for me. So it's going to be this Jinx. And she kind of looks a bit like Liv Tyler as well, actually. Just a thought.
She's got the cutest little jowls. I love her cheeks. I thank you, brother, for being a dissenting opinion with me. But it's not going to change the outcome, because in the final of the G.I. Joburg and Full Force biggest subscription service card art battle, Volume 1, we have two white-haired gentlemen. It's Tiger Force Outback versus Cesspool.
Wow.
Ooh.
You're going to be surprised at mine.
Battle of the Grey Hairs.
Well, this is a curious matchup because you got nature versus industry.
Nice. Deep thinker, you.
Oh, it's like an Eco Force battle. Eco Warriors.
And
battle.
interestingly enough, Outback was going to be a member of the Eco Force until he was switched over to Battlecore in the last minute. Well, not the last minute, when they decided against doing any more Eco Force. And it was just all Battlecore carded. So that Battlecore carded one you see of him, where he looks like a dozer from Fraggle Rock, that was initially intended. That was initially intended to be Eco Warriors Outback, which is quite neat.
Have a good time, young man.
And now my world makes sense. Oh, Christopher, where have you been all my life, boy?
I've been outside, but you just won't let me in.
Just a continent. Oh, wait.
Yeah, just like 17 continents away.
In Missouri.
Oh, yeah. Can we stop mentioning that state, please?
How do you guys function without fences? Like,
oh, we've got a fence. We have a fence. We have a fence. Trust me. I don't know how the other neighbours like you do it without a fence, or live without fences, because it's just so weird. You can see through like 4 people's backyards, and then you see our fence. It's so funny. It's like we're the only house on the block that's got a fence. It's crazy.
Them foreigners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got here and built a wall. Is that weird?
The Missouri chat is forthcoming. You can't short the Missouri chat.
True.
That's awesome.
But it was to keep all the Americans out. That was my wall. Oh.
It's just so weird because in South Africa we've all got walls. It's like, look, I have a wall. It's amazing. It keeps you out. Yay!
But anywho,
so many directions we could take.
Guys, I'm going to open my account and I'm going to say Cesspool.
Yeah, agreed.
Wow.
I'm saying Cesspool as well. I just think,
crazy.
But only for the same reason that I voted Cesspool over Jinx is because I have a slight issue with the Outback art, which I don't have with Cesspool, and that's why that Cesspool gets the nod for me.
Yeah, everything on Cesspool's card hangs together nicely. You know, it's all present, it's all inspired and correct to the figure alongside it. He's got the Super Soaker by Leonard, which is a wonderful little bit of, I suppose, subversion. You know, it's G.I. Joe's competitor, really. The core.
But Outback also has a Super Soaker.
Does he now?
Outback also has a Super Soaker. It's just his bag's covering it.
Oh.
God.
The head sculpt and the artwork on the face is just amazing. It's kind of cherubic. He's got this really like
Cherubic?
you cover it's the two-face factor. You cover up the one side of the face and it's whole, and then you see the other side and it's crazed. But
Whole. Yeah.
the craziness, it moves over. I mean, he's all kinds of crazy. He's disfigured and crazy, and I don't understand how he can function with so much flesh missing on his face. It's just, he's some hideousness.
Another little anecdote I can throw in here is that when Dave Proctor sculpted the original, not the original, but the head for this particular figure, he did the scar so detailed that the club asked him to wind back a little bit on the details. So even that scar is amazing on the figure, but it would have been a hell of a lot more disfigured and gross and deeper and have more things going on in it had Dave had carte blanche on that. So they asked him to wind back on the intensity of that particular scar, which is quite cool.
I heard it was because Tombstone had scar envy, so they had to dial it back.
I think my final factor that I'm going to throw into consideration before I move on to the next speaker is Cesspool wins for me because he is so original. He's not borrowing from a bygone era, because that's what this is all about. I think like the figure subscription service gave us opportunities at seeing new artworks, or artworks that are so tweaked by the parts choices of the figures that they are effectively new skins, new presentations of old characters. And Cesspool does that, whereas Tiger Force Outback leans so heavily on the vintage so as to not be its own thing, almost. And when you're comparing the two, yes, they're both excellent, but which one is a successful new work, original work? And I'd say that tips more in favor of Cesspool.
You could argue that the Cesspool, because obviously there is another Cesspool, there is a vintage Cesspool artwork, and it's like the same pose, very, very similar features going on all over the actual body and everything. But it's almost to the point where Adam has had to do something completely different with it because of all the changes on the actual figure. And I think that's where the difference is, where there'll be like, the odd change here and there over some vintage art. That's different. This is like Adam used that as a basic structure, but literally redid. I mean, the hair's slightly different. Like the face is similar, but he's made it more crazed in a way somehow.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that expression wins it for me, man.
Yeah.
He's had to work that much harder in reskinning the original. And he's done it so successfully that he's trumped a Hall of Famer. Cesspool, for me at least, has trumped Tiger Force Outback.
If you say the word Trump on YouTube,
to contradict that?
You're going to censor the show.
I said it a few times, yeah. Whoops.
Just joking. I agree with you.
I'll bleep that out.
Tiger Force body wash should definitely be a thing. But Cesspool is too nuts, and that's what you need. Like, this is a seamless way to promote Cujo's Last Joke on File cards. They just dropped earlier today. Rich's actually goes into a little bit of card art facts, but yeah, Cesspool, you gotta pull people in with crazy or scary or some kind of intensity. So he's gonna take it for me as well.
Wow, we have a winner already.
Yeah, if I had a vote.
You do have a vote. It just doesn't count, Paul. But still, are you on the winning team with everyone else, or are you going to be a loser?
Oh,
not that I voted yet, but
No, not that you voted yet. Yeah, I'm probably gonna sing Cesspool's praises as well. Mostly because Adam Richards got paid to do this artwork, and hopefully quite handsomely. I hope. But if you didn't, don't worry. It's not like you didn't do 50 of the things. But jokes aside, it is cool that it's a new artwork. I mean, even though its template is based on an older artwork, as Steve said, he has made it his own, and it's cool, and you can see that. And it's a few times, I mean, when I got this print, because this was one of the prints that I grabbed from Adam at the show, when I saw this, I didn't see, the chainsaw didn't bug me. The lack of the metal arm didn't bug me. I didn't see that stuff. That stuff was all magically there somehow in my brain when I was looking at the artwork. So he managed to nail that. And that gun in the front is very, very cool. There's a lot of great things going here. And yeah, viva la new artists doing artwork for card art. It's all cool that we celebrate the old guys and whatever's, like Steve has also mentioned, but it's good to see the new guys getting paid for stuff, And yeah, this artwork's cool, man. It's a cool artwork. I would put it on my wall if I had space for it, but at least I have it as a print, which is rare for me as well, if anybody cares. So, yeah.
I also give it to Cesspool. I mean, it's awesome because it is basically the exact same pose, but as we've all said before, he had to adapt, the look of the character to what the figure looks like, and he's done an absolutely amazing job of creating something brand new, but also that calls back to the original artwork. So it's really cool that we're able to feature and choose something that's brand new that calls back, but isn't just the original art with a slight, Photoshop going on there. You're very cool, Father Christmas. but I have to give it to Two-Face because he's doing
Flawless
while you're just
victory.
knowing.
Would we call
Perfect.
Would we say that Cesspool has had a clean sweep?
Hey, that makes so much
Eco
sense.
Warriors joke.
That makes so much sense. That's amazing.
Guys, would our choices or would our outcome have changed at all? I know it's cruel to do this at the end of quite a lengthy process, but if Interrogator or Alpine had made it to the final, would any of you guys have swung the other way?
Not
Phrasing.
for
I
Alpine.
only swing one way.
I swing as many ways as is physically possible, and no, but I think that I think those two are pretty awesome final. I did say when we got to, I think one of the quarters, was it? I think I said something like Alpine and Cesspool would have been a really good final. I think that too, especially in like the newer kind of art. I think that would have been a nice kind of like versus battle. But I think it's really nice that we got one vintage and one kind of, you know, modern to, you know, fighting for that position. It was like almost you had one from each camp. And I would say that Tiger Force Outback, out of all of the vintage artwork, stands out for me. It's certainly one I remember more than any of the others. You know, if someone says to me G.I. Joe card art, it's always Outback that springs to mind. And now when someone mentions FSS, I'm not sure what you guys thought when this idea was being batted around. Were there any that jumped out at you without checking? Because Cesspool certainly was one for me.
Yeah, that's actually how I did my list. I first wrote everything that I could remember, and then actually went online to go and look at them properly.
Good idea, yeah.
Yeah, so Cesspool, Jinx were two that stood out for me as like they had to be on my list. Big Boa as well, but then when I looked at the card art, when I looked at the art again, I was like, why? It's just the original artwork.
Yeah.
See, that's something I tried to do as well. I tried to eliminate as many sort of Photoshop redos as I could. I tried to do that just because I wanted the card art to be about the new card art. So, I mean, that's why, like, Psych Out was another one. Because I kept seeing Psych Out's card at the show, actually. And every time I looked at it, I was like, I want to buy that. You know?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the most interesting thing for me is actually when Stephen gave us this list, I already chosen Cesspool as the winner, and I basically predicted that he would win this entire thing, and that the final would actually be between Outback and Cesspool.
It's a fix.
Predictotron 1000.
Yeah, dude.
Jeez, Rob.
I mean, there
So
were
what
some
are the lotto
choices
numbers
that...
again?
Well, there were some choices that I didn't think would go through.
Croatia.
But,
I didn't think Croatia would go through.
No, not at all. And
Spoiler alert.
But anyway, remember, don't spoil it. Steven is still very much a big soccer fan, and he wants to watch the footy.
Lols.
When he gets
forget
the
it.
chance.
Who
He's
won
recorded
the
it.
final? Come on.
Croatia.
Bosnia.
Croatia is the World Cup. Wow.
That's
No, it's
amazing.
France.
It's France.
Oh, come on, you.
Because that would have been awesome. There was a girl I had a bet with, and that would have worked out really nicely for me.
Did you also not know, Paul?
I've got a cool story
right.
about Croatia and a girl as well, but that'll be the content for another podcast, or keep that one off the record, perhaps. But hence I had an interesting interest in Croatia taking the cup. But damn it, okay.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
France won again.
It was 1998. I was in Slovenia watching the cup quarterfinal. Anyway,
So that's the winner, Cesspool. I predicted the future, and I was right. Even though
And
Steven
that's
is in the future.
I am, and
I
I'm
knew.
going to rejoin my future wife in bed,
Ah.
and I'm going to thank our illustrious panel on this episode, with special mention to Diagnostic 80,
Hi.
Christopher McLeod. Thank you. You are a font of wisdom. You are invaluable, and I'm glad you're part of this team.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's been an absolute blast, and I can't wait to edit the next show for you guys.
Full force. I'll do one of yours. How's that? I mean, you keep them down to about half an hour, so...
You can have one of my
think
10
I'm-
hours ones.
Oh, really?
Are you guys just gonna like double fist it, or like?
Yeah, we could double fist it. Yeah, totally. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been fun. I've had a great time chatting art, and it's been great to hang with you guys again. And yeah, more of this would be great.
Well, don't disappear too soon, because we've got the other 4 waves and the final 12. Yeah, man, we got a lot of art to get through. I hope the listeners have enjoyed this. Our viewers, in fact, if you've been watching the YouTube presentation, all thanks once again to Chris. Guys, I'm out.
Yeah, me too.
Full force.
I'm Robert, and I'm out. Yeah, G.I. Joe, full force. Berg.
Yo, Joe.
Yo, force.
We're leaving
Force
in
Berg.
from behind. Wait, never mind. I
Time
actually
to
want to
get
go watch
to it.
G.I. Joe the movie now. I'm going to quickly
Do it,
jump.
Paul. Do it.
Man,
Joseph
I wanna see
Gordon-Levitt,
my real life Jinx.
best Cobra Commander.
I've been going through all of the VHS Action Force dub tapes and cutting every single overdub out, and it's like 11 hours of footage, and I'm still only about, I don't know, I've got about 48 minutes worth of stuff that's been cut. But in a couple of the episodes, they say "Yo Force." It's like that. It was
Yes.
so weird. It's like they've gone completely. They were just like, well, let's just slowly bring them into G.I. Joe bit by bit. We'll even have their battle cry change very, very slightly each episode. It's amazing.
Well,
That
in the
happened,
movie,
I think, in one of our... Yeah, in the movie, halfway
Yeah,
through.
I've got
they
a copy
start
where
saying-
halfway through it
Joe.
flips into no, well, they flip back
Full
into
force.
full force.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's a
particularly
half and
funny
half
hearing
episode.
the-
Yeah.
It's like they
Yes.
got bored halfway through and they're like, whatever, just leave it.
Dude, the mistakes that are made on the VHS releases are amazing. There's one Cold Slither release. So Cold Slither came out twice. It came out with Let's Play Soldier as a 2 VHS kind of special, and then it came out again, re-released on a 4-episode VHS tape. And what they did was they forgot to remove the G.I. Joe audio track. So they've got both the overdub full track, so all of the bits that are said and all of the overdubs, and then the original G.I. Joe track at the same time, but slightly out of phase.
Wow.
So you've got this weird
my
like
goodness.
double
Doppler
track
effect.
thing going
That's
on.
confusing.
And
Ugh.
and the beauty part is there are 2 different songs at the end by the Average Joe band and the Action Force band, and they converge to make this horrible, like, even worse, all over the place double song. It's unbelievable.
Well, guess what's playing us out right now? Cheers, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Down, 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 down.